and welcome the latest Red Leaf Retrocast episode 123, Money in the Valley. Ricky, we got a lot of previews to talk about on the show.
We do. I'm excited.
So we could discuss the last couple weeks of Dynamite. We could discuss Fantasticamania if I had watched it all as intended. Ran out of time. We could talk about Stardom's latest Korakuen, which we will.
Yeah.
But that'll be later.
Okay. Okay.
You watched some Joshi. I hope you finished them all.
I did. I watched everything you told me to watch.
Excellent. That is fantastic news for the Joshi section of the podcast. So you'll be staying on for that one on this episode.
Yay!
Gonna be a lot of retro at the end because I already recorded over an hour of AJW Saint Final Battle from 1993, the rematch, Akira Hokuto, Shinobu Kandori, very famous, and then WCW Mayhem 1999. Oh, that's a show.
Whoa. Sounds like it.
That's the big agenda there. That's what we'll be doing on this podcast, along with a bunch of previews for all the major events that's happening, I guess, this weekend, because we're at the end of February.
There we are. Where does the time go?
Well, 8 weeks into the year already.
Yeah.
Goes by quick.
It does.
Ricky, have you seen the latest Wrestling Observer Newsletter awards for 2022?
I saw some of them. I didn't look at every category.
Okay. Well,
yeah.
I will pull them up right now then, as I head on over to the Observer site.
I'm aware of a lot of the AEW ones. I know AEW won Best Promotion and didn't beat Stardom by a whole lot, I think.
Right. So, the way it works is Meltzer and the readers, or at least voters of the Wrestling Observer, the way they're listed off is the amount of first place votes and then the total votes next to it, kind of functioning as like a point system, right?
Mm-hmm.
For the A rank categories, you kind of go your third, second, and first place votes, and then the B ones you only vote for one. Okay, so it's just an overall total. You got to pick one, and that kind of separates the pack here. And the dialogues I've been listening to, last podcast we talked about all the grifting that goes along with the kind of critique of AEW, and it's very more so adamant around the times of awards like this, where I think One Nation Radio kind of touched on it best. Two guys I immensely respect with their opinions and how they approach dialogue in wrestling, how they critique it overall. They mentioned that something like the Observers can be, I guess, acquainted to the Academy Awards, where this is really the only, or at least of a select few, I guess prestigious might not be the right term, but it's been the awards for wrestling nerds like ourselves to really take pride in, and it feels like it's almost like it's a vetted system, along with the Hall of Fame and that kind of, because nothing's really been around as long. Nothing covers the wide scope of wrestling on a global scale rather than a niche regional that, say, Fightful does, because it's they have a very different fan base, and it's very community based, if you will. It is based on their fandom that they've acquired over time. And PWI, I kind of rank them as number two, but they go in a different route of how the awards are more recognized and in a kayfabe sense. So the Observer Awards come out and always causes some either grifting dialogue or angry dialogue or gloating dialogue, right?
Sure.
And the angry part seems to always come from the WWE side of things, even though when you look at how the voting has gone over the last, 40 years of this, WWE gets as much credit as any other company. The difference is it's not recognized as the be-all and end-all company, right?
Right.
So the readers really kind of go with what's popular at the time, a growing fan base, a changing fan base, and a fan base that changes along with what I think a best representation of what the flavor of wrestling fans enjoy. It was All Japan Pro Wrestling in the 90s, even though New Japan Pro Wrestling was arguably the most financially successful, at least in the early 90s sense. Okay?
Yep.
And there's always this anger around the awards with various fan bases. Not just WWE; it also comes from like TNA and Impact fans at the time. That they feel like there's a buzzing coming from your end.
Still?
Well, no, it's anyways. It always feels like because they're not being recognized at the same like critical level, that they feel a sense of neglect and almost in a defense mechanism that they have to then have excuses as to why their said person or company isn't winning these awards. Okay? I've seen a common kind of retort towards WWE in particular when it comes to the Observer Awards that, and it's not just, say, fans of WWE. It's also a lot of the grifting critics that we talked about from the previous podcast, where they go, well, it's the most financially successful company, therefore they have to win everything. How could you not vote for Roman Reigns as Wrestler of the Year when he's the top guy in the industry? Well, as Meltzer kind of put it, and I've heard him say I've heard some people say he's giving in to the reasoning behind a fan base as to why they didn't vote for Roman Reigns, and calling it like a defensive excuse and enabling of it, rather than looking at it from Meltzer's perspective, which would be, why did the fans vote this way? And this is how and this is his interpretation of why the fans voted this way. Jon Moxley won Wrestler of the Year because he was seen as the most valuable to the promotion and put on the most... he kind of put the company best on his back when they needed him the most. And we really got that feeling across the year that anytime AEW struggled with whether it was the heavy injuries that plagued them throughout the beginning of the year into the summer, down to the CM Punk injury, and then down again to the suspensions right afterwards, it was always Jon Moxley that was there to put the company on his back and be there when they needed him the most. And that does mean something with a lot of fans. While on the flip side, Roman Reigns, he only wrestled a handful of times. Yes, they were always big matches. And when it comes to the Wrestling Observer, the in-ring aspect does play a big vital role in how critics and super fans like us, or at least fans that really care to this degree, rank it as such. And I mean, in my opinion, Roman Reigns doesn't really have the most compelling matches. It's a lot of dialogue mid-match. It's very Shawn Michaels-esque, and I'm not a fan of that. So naturally, I just wouldn't see him in the same light as a WWE fan would.
Yeah.
So the top 10, with one honorable mention this year, which I found interesting. It went Jon Moxley 1, Roman Reigns 2, 498 first place votes for Moxley, 232 for Roman Reigns. And this is where it's interesting. The total votes was 3,100 for Moxley, 2,200 for Roman Reigns. So to me, that tells me that even though Reigns didn't get as many first place votes, he still got a lot of votes from the overall sense to get that high.
Sure.
So it's clearly not just AEW fans voting in this thing.
Yeah. That's a lot of votes.
Right. Will Ospreay 3, Kazuchika Okada 4, Shuri number 5. There's our Stardom wrestler.
Ooh.
Chris Jericho 6, which I found interesting, and MJF 7, CM Punk 8, Julia, another Stardom wrestler, number 9, Bryan Danielson 10, and Sami Zayn number 89. Or at 89 points, number 89. Number 11 with 89 points. You have any thoughts over that top 10?
I'm impressed that the Stardom women snuck in there. Not surprised, but impressed. Happy that the voters went that way.
Let me interrupt you there for a second. Could you wiggle your connection a little bit there?
Sure.
Maybe it's not in all the way.
Sure can. Let's see.
Okay.
How are we doing?
Yeah.
Better?
Well, I guess we'll find out.
Okay.
Okay, so that's it. You said the Stardom wrestler snuck in there. Okay. And yes.
In a sense that it's not as mainstream as AEW, WWE, or even New Japan.
Absolutely true. That is without a doubt true. But what this tells me is, and I did a big comparison in the AJW part of the podcast, which I hope everyone goes out of the way to listen. But I also went over the Observer Awards from '93, when AJW in ring wise it was kind of recognized at its peak, at least at the time it was at its peak. Akira Hokuto and Manami Toyota were really popping off and getting into the big recognition in the Observer at the time as well, and that was far from having Western television exposure, but it was resonating with the fan base and the tape trading audience. So Hokuto was an honorable mention at the time, during an era where even Meltzer himself, writing at the time, and this is a blurb from that section, thought Akira Hokuto was a shoo-in for the top 10. So whether you're listening to a lot of grifting critic podcasts out there that when they see a name like Shuri or Julia come up and they can't pronounce it for the life of them, there's some that even think they're dudes. They're so out of the loop on that. This is the second year in a row that there's a top 5 finish for a woman in Stardom and a top 10 finish for a second woman in Stardom. We can go down to the promotion of the year, and Stardom actually did place second last year as well in promotion of the year. This year, it just happened to be much closer.
Got it.
And Rossy Ogawa then placed, of course, second in Booker of the Year. Not too far behind Tony Khan either in that sense as well. So there is
I'm assuming that's the Booker for Stardom?
Yes. We call him the Hat Man.
Okay.
So there's definitely a growing recognition year over year, even with something like the Observer, in how much Stardom is covered, and you can even if you read the Observer week to week, you can see a growing sense of dialogue and writing, and even on the Observer site and and many podcasts out there, also growing in a coverage of Stardom. So that's kind of what I want to do. This isn't just another fluke year like last year was. This is true another sense of tangible growth, at least in the Western sense. But we also saw this with the Tokyo Sports Awards at the end of 2022, where a woman tag team almost won Tag Team of the Year. There was a women's Match of the Year that got nominated. Stardom wrestlers are now winning these things, even more slam dunk than usual. I mean, the list goes on to this, and I was very happy and excited and interested to see how Stardom was going to do this year, and where naturally where everyone else kind of fell with these awards. So Shuri at 5 doesn't quite surprise me, and neither does Julia. I think the one that kind of surprised me the most was Saya Kamitani, who was the Wonder of Stardom champion all last year, and she's still the champion now. She was completely left off the list throughout the Observer Awards when I thought she was going to have a much better chance, but that kind of goes into Julia winning the 5-star and then eventually winning the title at the end. Gave her, I think, a lot more momentum and kept her fresh in people's heads than kind of Saya Kamatani teetering off with great defenses near the end of the year. She didn't really have that. Most outstanding was Will Ospreay by like 4 times the votes of Bryan Danielson. Okada 3rd, Mike Bailey 4, Moxley 5, Dax Harwood at 6th. So he did get his recognition for his brief little singles matches. It resonated with some people.
He had some great singles matches last year.
He had some good ones, sure.
You sound very like you're like what's the word? Patronizing.
I don't know. I just thought there were like at least 20 wrestlers that put on more frequent and better matches than him.
That's fair.
Yeah, because this is most outstanding, and when I think of Dax Harwood, I think of the tag team FTR, not singles wrestler, outstanding player.
Sure. So, like, is Mike Bailey on the list?
Yeah, he got number 4.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he got a good number total of votes, not so much the first place.
Got it?
Yeah. You can kind of decipher number of first place votes to total votes and see the disparate, the discrepancies between the two, or at least the correlation or lack thereof, to see who showed up on more lists when and where. Tag Team of the Year, FTR, Briscoes, Young Bucks, Usos, Acclaimed, Aussie Open, Lucha Bros, Meltier from Stardom, FWC from Stardom, Keith Lee, Swerve Strickland. I got no issue with really any of these, and even in the order that they were in. Not much to debate for me, because I went over, when I was going over my top 50 tag matches of the year, I kind of had a brief little dialogue in there that's available on the Patreon, by the way, of the Lucha Bros compared to FTR and the Young Bucks. When you really look at the body of work throughout the year, they, along with Strickland and Lee and the Acclaimed, they were right there at the top of the heap with how many tag matches they were in and how many critically acclaimed matches that they had, just as that full body. They just didn't have that title run to be fully recognized, I feel.
Makes sense.
And then I want to move on to, let's see, I got the promotion of the year pulled up now. Total votes for All Elite Wrestling was 3,200. Stardom, 2,200. WWE, 1,800, barely surpassing New Japan, which was just under 1,800. And then it heavily drops off after that. Let's see, we got Best Weekly TV Show, skipped that. Match of the Year is about what you expect. The Julia Shuri match got number 6. I was kind of really hoping for a top 5 finish, but wasn't meant to be. And then I want to get to the Women's Award, which was Shuri at 1 at 455, Bianca Belair 201, Jamie Hayter 146, Julia 138, and then Kyrie got 31. That's a head scratcher to me. Maybe the historic crossover had a lot to do with that very heavily recognized match. The prospect of wrestling at Wrestle Kingdom probably laid in people's minds a lot. Other than that, it was kind of strange of how that went down. Let's see, and then I want to get to what the promoter of the year, let's see, best brawler, flying, most overrated, Ronda Rousey. Takeshita winning most underrated was kind of funny because everyone recognizes how good he is.
Underrated?
Yeah. Some people amount it to like underpushed, but Takeshita has been heavily pushed in DDT his entire career.
Yeah.
But he didn't.
That's a head scratcher.
Let's see. Where is my promoter of the year? There, no, that's worst promotion of the year. Best Booker, here we go. Tony Khan 372, Rossi Ogawa 327, and then Paul Levesque, Mr. Triple H, number 3 at 183. So it was a 2-horse race, and it really turned out to be.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted to make clear of how close it was.
Oh.
So those were your Observer Awards. I don't really have much issue with it this year. I think I would have swapped some names down here or there. Maybe highlighted some different matches, but ultimately, I think it's a good representation of what 2022 was.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. Shall we preview AEW Revolution? Or shall we talk about some indies?
Either way.
Either way. Okay. I am going to catch up on Fantascomania. That is going to happen. CMLL had a couple matches I do want to check out. And then with Dragongate, I've really lost interest in their tag tournament that I was pretty hyped for going in. I just don't really have a sense of feel of what the booking or goals are with Dragongate right now.
Mm-hmm.
Or where they're heading with a lot of their stories. It's they've definitely lost me through the month of February. Hopefully in March they can kind of bring me back. A lot of DQs, a lot of countouts, a lot of 10-minute matches. It's kind of hard to get excited when nothing kind of feels bigger than it should be.
Yeah.
That's where I feel on that. I am going to play Riho's music because she's coming back on Wednesday. How about that?
Yes! Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. So, I look at my time hop most days, which shows like things that I tweeted on that day in prior years.
Uh-huh.
And just, I think yesterday or the day before, a couple years ago, I tweeted that I was listening to Riho's theme at my desk and that my coworkers, if anybody walked by while I was listening to her theme, my coworkers were going to be in for a treat because I can't sit still when her song is playing.
Okay, then. I will cue the addictive beat then. Here we go. Alrighty, Ricky, it is time to preview AEW Revolution 2023. But first, Riho is coming back. The killer of NXT has returned to our cable televisions. She's taking on Toni Storm. Who you got?
I'm so ready. I feel like Riho should win, but because Tony's going into this... Wait, she's not in the match.
Yeah, it's Toni Storm versus Riho.
No, I was thinking
you're talking about the three-way?
Revolution match. Yeah, she's not in the... Yeah, so Riho should win.
Yeah, I feel like it's going to be some tomfoolery out there, and shenanigans are going to happen, unfortunately. I don't think we're going to get a nice match. I'm very pessimistic about the prospects of what's happening. Agreed.
Riho should win. Toni may win via shenanigans.
Yeah, we got a casino battle royal and a Face of the Revolution ladder match for a future TNT title shot.
Commander is in the ladder match.
Yeah, should be cool.
I'm psyched.
Should be a wacky episode of Dynamite. It feels very it almost feels like a card for everyone not on Revolution to be on. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yes, and I think that's appropriate. I think instead of having 14 matches on the pay-per-view, you put some big stuff on the go-home show. And yeah, that's where you put. It's like so they moved the Face of the Revolution ladder match from the pay-per-view to the Dynamite before. I think that's fine. WWE had tried it with the Andre Battle Royal before WrestleMania, right? They had done it on SmackDown or whatever.
They've done it the last couple of years, I believe, yeah.
Yeah. I think that's a great way to still make the match feel meaningful and keep your pay-per-view cards a little shorter.
I do think the Dynamite before Revolution. Okay. Let me first start off by saying I think Rampage could be where you can put like an MJF, Bryan Danielson kind of go home promo, make Rampage feel more important. You can kind of do the finishing touches on those things, while Dynamite, maybe it could be better served by getting people on the card and doing cool matches. Get you kind of hyped for Revolution coming up with all the mid-card and prelim guys and maybe a main eventer or two who just didn't make this particular cut. I guess we'll find out on Wednesday night here what's going to entail. Is FTR going to show up as the Joker team? Possibly.
I don't know. I want them to, but
I think it's going to be Darby and Sting.
Yeah. I was going to say, if it's not FTR, I didn't have any other guesses. That's a good one. It could be Hookhausen.
No. No, Hook has a match where if he wins, he gets to beat up Stokely. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah. If it's not FTR, I think that's a good guess. I don't know who else to guess. So,
yeah, the last couple weeks of Dynamite before we get into this official preview here, I think it's been mostly missed with me, but a lot of it's been just building to the pay-per-view finally.
Yes.
So that'll lead to a total of 3 weeks building to the pay-per-view, which I think is personally enough time. We know 8 matches on the card. I think this build has been given more time to sink in, especially for some of the more important matches, like Jericho, Ricky Starks, MJF, Danielson. Moxley Page was kind of situated weeks ago at this point, and then they're just kind of finishing off the finishing touches. Okay, so number one match that everyone is looking forward to, since it's the main event, is the Iron Man match that's going to last an hour. MJF defending against Bryan Danielson. Thoughts on the build and thoughts on the match and the result. What do you think?
The build has been excellent. I love, I just love Bryan Danielson. Oh, we forgot during the Observer Awards that Danielson won the Danielson Award.
Hey, he won his own award.
But he's just the best, isn't he? This match is gonna rule. Yeah.
What if I proposed that it was a singles match that went 50 minutes? What if it was booked that way? Would that have changed your mind towards the build or the prospect of the match? Obviously, you wouldn't know that it was 50 minutes going in, but...
Sure. Yes, it would definitely change my anticipation of the match, but I don't know how.
So I'll phrase it this way. Does the Iron Man match stipulation enhance the match with the way they've built it up?
Yes.
Okay, for you it does. For me, it actually hasn't. To me, it's kind of taken away. I don't think during this build they've really emphasized the importance of why they're doing an Iron Man match. I know at points of the early parts of the story, they've gone, you can't last as long, you're not as technical, and I feel like they really got away with that. That's why it's like they might as well have done a singles match stipulation with me and just gone an extra long time, because then that would have also played into the story that they mentioned at the start. I don't think they've hit the Iron Man part enough.
Okay, that's fair. Maybe we'll hear something more about it on Wednesday, but
yeah, but at this point, I'm like already kind of sold on it with what they've done. I just don't know what else they could do at this point to see. My thing about stipulation matches At least these days in my... Here's a perfect example. The Moxley Adam Page build has screamed we're heading towards a Texas death match.
Right.
Without saying as much until they finally announce it. You go, okay, that makes sense. While the Danielson MJF, it was Iron Man match from the start because Danielson just wanted it. And MJF goes, well, okay, earn it. It's like, okay, that's all. Well, I'm not saying it's bad or anything. I just think the purpose of the stipulation is to enhance the match, sell more tickets, and get me, the fan, more hyped up for the match, and then the stipulation is to enhance that fandom.
Yeah.
I think MJF is going to win with the ring with a minute left in the game.
Oh, the ring. He still has that thing, huh?
Or he'll pull out brass knuckles, which we haven't seen since the Regal debacle.
Yeah. Holy moly.
So I'm just going to go by the Wikipedia here. They have the 4-way for the tag titles.
Mm-hmm.
It's the Guns who won the titles over the Acclaimed. We got Jay Lethal and Jeff Jarrett on pay-per-view, and the eventual Casino Royale winners. Thoughts?
Yep. I'm enjoying Jeff Jarrett on Dynamite. I mean, I didn't watch him for 25 years.
I'll try 30 years at this point.
Yeah. I'm enjoying it. I'm not sick of him. I do think it's a shame that someone's grandpa is taking a spot from someone younger. But I don't mind it. I think they're gonna win.
Never bet against the grifters.
Yeah.
I'm leaning with the Sting, and I'm leaning with my Sting and Darby Allin kind of play here. I know that's kind of also fantasy booking more than what we already know. I just don't. The way I think is that they wouldn't do this TBD without some big payoff. Let's say it's also FTR.
Mm-hmm.
I think they'd also come out of this match winning. I think it's whoever this fourth team is. Which begs the question, why are the Acclaimed in this at all? I get that they're over and they should be on the pay-per-view. In terms of what's happening with this story and build, the Acclaimed did get screwed, but I feel that that's more suited for a TV match.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Also, they just inserted themselves in the match too. They said there was like a rematch clause or something, which we've never heard of before.
Yeah, never heard of that before. It's shooting.
Very contrived. Yeah.
Yeah, did not like that at all.
No, me either.
Moxley, Hangman Page, referenced it earlier. Texas Death Match. This is the match I'm most anticipating on the entire show.
Yep.
I think it's been built the best. We've had those heavy, hard-hitting matches. It's all built around giving each other concussions, which I think is both sick and cool at the same time.
Right. Yeah, so
who wins? This is the one where I kind of care the most.
Yeah, I don't know, and I will be happy either way. I think I don't think it matters as far as fan reaction or whatever. Fans are going to be happy no matter what. Both of these guys are super popular. But I think the winner will there's going to be something's going to come out of this match for the winner, like a new storyline, a new rivalry, something like that.
All right, you ready for this?
Yeah, go.
So over the last few weeks, really getting that Blackpool Combat Club heel turn feeling coming.
Yes.
So I believe Hangman Adam Page is going to win this match. And I don't know if it's going to come directly after the match or somehow during it they do the heel turn completely for Moxley, or it'll come Wednesday with the full Blackpool Combat Club. Hangman Page wins. He's going to go on to challenge MJF. Maybe it's on TV. Maybe they somehow extend it out to Double or Nothing. That seems too far out, to be honest.
I mean, it's 3 months, right?
Yeah. I maybe they could do something interesting with Page and MJF. They've been kind of small-time rivals since AEW started. I think that those are two cool directions to go, and that's really the feeling I'm getting with the story as well, and I'm pretty into that. Could it go another way? Yeah, sure. And then I'm willing to let it play out. Samoa Joe, TNT title on the line against Wardlow. Powerhouse Hobbs, just very absent in this entire storyline ever since that three-way at Full Gear.
Yeah, weird. This is all weird.
And it's like not been terrible. It's just not very coherent.
It's not, and it doesn't have my attention. I don't think it's bad. It just is not. It hasn't hooked me.
You know what I think they should have done?
What?
The second Samoa Joe cut off Wardlow's hair, Wardlow should have been chasing around with like a buzzer, and they have a hair versus hair match with the title on the line.
Yeah.
Or title versus hair.
Yeah.
That would have given this a lot more juice. It would have made the story more coherent. And I think it would have played into everything better. And why? Here's another thing. Really. Rampage is struggling really bad. Okay? We talk about it all the time.
Yeah.
I know it's on TBS, but boy, if they needed a good, solid block to build up like Samoa Joe, Wardlow, and Hobbs, like those are the guys to kind of carry that slot.
Yeah.
I think I think they really missed the mark on building this one.
Yeah. I mean, they've been trying on Rampage by putting the Elite on Fridays, but it's just not.
It doesn't hold.
It's not. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Chris Jericho, Ricky Starks, straight singles match. Ricky Starks is out for his revenge of JAS over the last few months. Since it hasn't been going on really as long as people have thought. It's like mid-December. And now it's 2.5 it's 2.5 months.
That's a long time.
Yeah. Ricky Starks should win,
longer.
Right?
Yeah, I think so. But then kind of what's the point? He won the first one. So
well, to prove it's not a fluke. That's the whole point of the story.
Got it.
And Jericho is a egomaniac who can't get over it. And has been a thorn in his side.
I'm really excited for Peter Avalon versus Chris Jericho this Wednesday.
Well, obviously, it's going to be he Judas affects him in like 2 seconds, and then it's a big go-home segment, right?
Maybe? Yes. Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong. But
Peter Avalon is just fantastic. He's such a great seller, so whatever they ask him to do, he's going to knock it out of the park.
I did get a kick out of Ricky Stark saying, well, if Jericho can't face me on the pay-per-view, I have an open contract. And Peter Avalon must have been right there. He's like, oh, shit, pay-per-view? I'm in.
Yeah.
Jericho's like, get out of here.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. It was great.
I want on the pay-per-view. Chris Jericho, Le Champion, does not have a match.
Perfect.
Kind of a wacky way to get there when it was all said and done, but I'm okay with it. There's this... Okay, so we've touched on this a little bit with the JAS Ricky Starks. Yes, it's gone on quite a long time for some people, but Ricky Starks has been on TV just about every week doing matches, cutting promos. He feels like he has real babyface momentum to the top, much like Adam Page, that we'll see probably later in the night.
Yeah.
The story to me tells me Ricky Starks has to win.
He has to win because I feel like his momentum was slowing through all of this Jericho stuff. I think he was super hot after the last pay-per-view and after the Jericho win. And I feel like he's slowed down.
Well, he had the lights out match against Hobbs. He lost at I believe it was All Out to Hobbs in like 4 minutes or something. And then
something like that.
Yeah, so I think I'm on the opposite opinion that there's this like black hole of Jericho. I think he's really helped keep Ricky Starks relevant and on television because of the feud. And Ricky Starks has excelled every step of the way with the promos. I think they've kind of bungled the little Action Andretti part of the story a little bit.
Yeah.
Sticking him on Rampage and not... It's weird. I keep going back to they need to jump up Rampage, and I'm saying put our more interesting stars throughout that show. And then we can do a little bit more different things on Dynamite. I think that opens up the blocks a little bit better to tell your stories that you want to get across more. It's definitely it's a situation where it's like, I'm glad I'm not the booker that has to make these decisions when I can just sit here and kind of armchair critique it. Because who knows if that would actually work in the room and work for television until it actually gets thrown on paper.
Right. Yeah. But I just miss when Rampage felt like a continuation of Dynamite, like a to be continued instead of this whatever it is now. I don't know. Right.
Yeah, I agree. If Jericho comes away and wins this match, I think we'll be coming on here with a totally different topic to tackle. But for now,
sure,
we're going with this. You were saying?
Speaking of Jericho and Rampage, though, I almost forgot to watch this past week's Rampage, and I watched it last night. I loved Chris Jericho on commentary this week. I understand why I didn't like him at first, and I understand why some people still have, criticisms. But the way he puts people over on commentary, the way he refocused Jim Ross, which can't be easy, but because it was Aussie Open versus the Young Bucks, right? And JR was talked about Will Ospreay for a good 90 seconds. And Jericho was like, can we talk about the people who are in the ring and not Will Ospreay for a minute? But he did it like in a really nice way. Like he's very good. And I think he has a very bright future as a color commentator when he decides he's done wrestling. He's just very good at it. That's all I wanted to say. I'm not always hating on Jericho. That's all I wanted. He does good things.
All right. Women's title match. This has been a boy. I was hyped up for this for months. Love the prospect of where we're going. I think they've totally lost me.
Yep.
Jamie Hayter defending against Saraya and Ruby Soho in a 3-way.
Why is Saraya even in this match? I don't understand what she's done to earn.
She beat Britt Baker at the last pay-per-view, and then she had a nice little. Well, it wasn't nice. It was a terrible match in which she won over Sky Blue. That's it. That's the whole build there for her.
It's dumb.
This Saraya's been. I compared her to a relief pitcher that you've paid $20 million, and they come in and have blown many games in a row in the 9th inning. And the team feels compelled to put them still at the back end of the rotation there because they're paying them too much. I say take the L on Saraya. She's not working. She's a bad promo. She's put nobody over in any sort of capacity. She makes everyone look worse. The angles are bad. BJ Whitmer apparently has been agenting like all of these women matches over the last month or so, along with these angles.
That's not a name I know.
So he's like an ROH veteran type of the past.
Okay.
This guy seems to be heavily involved with Saraya. This duo is like it's a battery you do not want. There's a catcher and pitcher reference for you. Put her on waivers, get rid of her, and you know what? Ruby Soho has not been good either. She has looked absolutely terrible throughout this run, getting to this point. They've really bungled every sort of which way they could have gone. Toni Storm feels colder. Jamie Hayter seems to, like, she had that great match with Emi Sakura, and then poof, seems to be yesterday's news as well. Like, everything just seems to be in this vortex of nothing. And all we seem to remember from every single one of these angles is something terrible, whether it's the spray painting, flash paper Hogan Warrior type thing that they had on Dynamite, the bad matches with Saraya that she had, or match, the interference that isn't timed right. Ruby Soho isn't a big enough star for us to care about which way she goes, one way or the other. Hikaru Shida has just disappeared, who was a big crux at the beginning of all this.
Yeah.
She's just totally absent.
Where'd she go?
Well, she's flying back to Japan now, so they clearly, and she's been around the whole time, so that makes no sense there. I hate this. I wish they just didn't even have a match on the pay-per-view, honestly, because every which way they've gone has just been downhill since, I guess, the new year, kind of, and every week has been less and less. It's a real shame, because I was really into this.
Yeah. We were high on the originals versus outsiders aspect, and now we have a three-way. Yeah,
the people we care about just aren't there. They're not involved. Yeah. There's no connection to anything going on. It's I don't even want to talk about it anymore. Elite versus House of Black, there for your party match, your big trios title on the line. Should be pretty damn cool.
Yeah. Looking forward to it. Haven't seen House of Black in action in a while, I don't think. It feels like it's been a while to see them as a unit. And yeah, I'm excited. Do you think they take it from the Elite?
Yes. I think the Elite lose.
Why?
Kind of my same reasoning is with like Paige and Starks winning. I think it's gonna. Yeah. I think those two are gonna be the big baby faces. They're gonna move up the card. I see Hangman Page feuding with MJF, and I see Ricky Starks feuding with the Samoa Joe, and I think that's when they bring back Powerhouse Hobbs as well, and kind of make that generation into the TNT title-esque picture there. So that would open up the Bucks to do something again with the tag titles, which I think needs a lot more depth to what they're doing. And there's a lot of question marks around Omega right now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's very weird. It's very, very weird.
I do wish heading up to this, I feel like the Elite have been established as a strong trios team and having the cool matches with, Top Flight and Arrow Fox and company, and the Young Bucks having the nice Aussie Open match on Rampage. I did enjoy those things.
Yes.
We had the same critique as the Guns, that the House of Black just does not feel like a hot team. They haven't been heated up at all. So this feels like it's way colder than it should be.
Agreed.
Okay, and then you can kind of fill in the blanks of what other matches they're probably going to announce. I imagine we're going to get at least 2 more at the minimum, and then a couple
Keith Lee versus Swerve, probably.
Well, that's going to be a tag match, right? It's going to be Keith and...
No.
Yeah, Keith and
Dustin?
Dustin, and then Swerve and one of his minion guys.
I thought that was on TV this week.
Is it? I
don't know. Yeah, I think it has to be Swerve versus I think it has to be Swerve versus Keith on the pay-per-view in singles.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt that. If I'm wrong about the tag match, then the singles match seems inevitable to be a late addition, which I'm okay with. That's fine.
Cool.
And then whatever, like Orange Cassidy or Eddie Kingston or Claudio match you want to throw on there, I think would be suited. I wouldn't mind like a hodgepodge 8-man tag, like on the pre-show, just with a bunch of people to do cool shit.
Yeah, I
think that'd be nice. Kind of miss those.
Yeah.
So on a scale of 1 to 10, how excited are you for the pay-per-view itself, despite our many critiques?
Well, I'm missing it live, so I'm struggling to hype myself up for it. So my struggle is different than a lack of build struggle or whatever. It's just I'm not going to see it, and it's all going to be spoiled for me when I do see it. So, I'm in a very meh place when it comes to Revolution, but again, that's personal circumstance, not for AW's lack of trying or anything.
Yeah, with the exception of the women's match, I think I'm probably closer to a 7-8. Because I've mostly enjoyed a lot of the stories heading into it. I just have the opinions here and there of what's better. I'm with a lot of the dialogue I'm seeing, like in our Discord, the Red Leaf Retrocast Discord, or a lot of the people in the vacuum of Twitter that I tend to hang out in. I'm definitely not sharing the same opinion and mindset that they're sharing with MJF's been a bad promo and champion heading into this. Where the same thing with like Chris Jericho, it just seems like a lot of the heels they're sick of, and I'm not really getting that same feeling. I'm predicting a card where most of them lose, right?
Most of the heels lose.
Yeah. Or anyone that's leaning heel is losing. And we get a lot of happy endings for a good chunk of these.
I like a happy ending.
Well, don't we all? Okay. I do not have Mercedes Moné's music, so I should probably get that queued
Want me to just sing it? I can sing it.
Oh, okay. And can you beatbox it too?
Money. That's all I know.
Oh boy. I'll just play a random like Sasha Banks drop I have. How about that?
Okay, go for it.
Okay. Well, actually, I do have her like WWE music. I'll just play that.
Okay.
It'll be like a weird transition period. All right, I'll get the Mone theme another day. But Battle in the Valley, I honestly just have like 2 things I want to talk about to focus on, and then we can move on to Stardom. Eddie Kingston, Jay White, loser leaves New Japan. We talked about Jay White losing to Hikuleo in the last podcast episode. This one, Jay White goes 19 minutes with Eddie Kingston. I was very compelled by the match. I liked the way... Look, Jay White lands with me a lot of the times. And Kingston is He's a very fun wrestler to watch with how he puts his matches together. So these two molded well. And Jay White loses. He loses clean as a whistle. Eddie Kingston goes over. What do you make of this?
I feel like it means Jay White's definitely going to WWE. If he was going to AEW, he wouldn't have lost a loser leaves New Japan match because AEW is still working with New Japan. But that's my thought on the effect of the result. I didn't love this match. And I love these guys. I don't know if I was distracted or what, but I don't remember being like, I don't remember it being compelling for me, even though there were these stakes and I love both guys. I don't know. It was a very weird watch for me.
Maybe you were a little emotional of Jay White leaving the way he was?
Maybe. Could be.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. I'm 90% sure he's Fed bound, which is a real shame because I think he's going to flourish on American television. There's no doubt. I have no reason to believe why he wouldn't. The reason why I still have that 10% of doubt is because leaving New Japan itself kind of comes across to be like a contract issue. So if he signs with AEW, he's still technically has left New Japan because then he's not under contract with them anymore.
Oh, yeah.
And so if he goes back to Japan or he wrestles in a New Japan ring again, he's not representing them. He's representing... I don't know, maybe it's a loophole I've made up in my head to get that 10% doubt. But yeah, who knows? Other results on the card, as I'll just run through it. We had an 8-man tag open up. That was fine. Kenta wins the openweight strong title from Fred Rosser. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, shenanigans.
Of course he does. He's Kenta the shitbag. Motor City Machine Guns win the openweight strong tag titles. They retained over the West Coast Wrecking Crew. Just a match. It was okay. I was weirdly into it still.
I was super into it.
I thought the Tom Lawler... Yeah, I got it. I thought the Tom Lawler Homicide street fight was really bad. I hated it. Did not like it one bit.
Yeah, same.
Zack Sabre Jr. retains the TV title over Clark Connors, 14 minutes. I thought this was very solid as well.
Yep.
And in the main event was Okada defeating Tanahashi in 21 minutes. The days of Tanahashi beating Okada are well behind us. And they had a Plays the Hits match. And I thought it was fine.
Yep.
But the big topic of this entire show, Battle in the Valley, Mone in the Valley, the one who single-handedly sold out the show before Okada was announced for it, was Kairi losing the IWGP Women's title to Mercedes Mone in a 26-minute, 47-second match. Big Dave went 4.5 on this match, and I am on record saying this is the women's match of the year, and that includes Joshi in Japan.
Whoa.
I vastly enjoyed this. There was a lot of heavy dialogue in our chats and a lot of chats surrounding us of what this match was going to be like, what the result was going to be, and why. What is the status of both wrestlers going in, and now what's their status going out. There was Mercedes Mone here talking about, she's going on various podcasts I've never heard of, and at first she mispronounces a couple names, and then she goes on another one and does even worse. And that's when it's like, she is playing up to these fans. She's making enemies of Joshi fans on purpose.
Oh, she's doing it on purpose.
Oh, absolutely she is. And I was laughing. My immediate follow-up post to she got worse. How is this possible? Was this is a work. It comes because she is. If there's anything I always respect a wrestler that does the work and goes above and beyond to do just the little things. MJF does a lot of that. Mercedes does a lot of that. I don't care how they act behind the scenes. I don't care how they act in front of children, as long as they don't physically abuse them. There's definitely lines to be drawn. But when it came to Mercedes Mone, I do think she could have done a little bit better of recognizing the environment she was in sooner. And over as the weeks went on leading up to it, she definitely whenever she plugged the match and the show, she was sure to start mentioning Stardom more often, mentioning the champions, mentioning people she'd like to face, and then throwing in a little character in there as well, which was very clear once you listened to her and had her going. And she even puts out this this video, right? On she put out a little YouTube channel.
Yes.
And did you watch this?
Sure did.
Okay, what are your thoughts of this video?
You're talking about the whole like getting ready for Wrestle Kingdom video, right?
Right, her whole debut, and it showed her kind of briefly training in like Mexico and kind of hanging out in the Japan streets and having her friends kind of meet her in Japan as well.
Right.
I thought it was really well done, and it really, whether it's a work or not, she clearly shot it in a way to grasp certain fans and the fandom that would care to look this kind of stuff up.
Absolutely. I mean, got us. I really enjoyed her meeting Kenny Omega face to face. I thought she actually seemed a little starstruck talking to Kenny.
She seemed very starstruck at just kind of this leap that she's taken for herself. Because she even mentioned verbatim that a lot of people leave these smaller countries and smaller promotions compared to, well, all of them are smaller compared to WWE, to end up in the Fed. And she's going the other way. She's made a name for herself, and now it's a big risk to see what her name and what she's done in one company can do for another. And that's to me, that's a huge step. It's almost like a pro hockey player couldn't win the Stanley Cup on a team with like three other like big veterans and future Hall of Famers. So when their contract is up, instead of sticking with the team that maybe isn't best for them, they go to a team less than for a big chance. You could end up like Gretzky going to the LA Kings. Yeah. Right? Even though he did have, he's the greatest of all time, but the point is he left a successful Edmonton Oilers to go to LA, which was a huge risk in a career to a geography and fan base of that. Or on the flip side, you end up like Johnny Gaudreau, who left a very successful Calgary Flames, who looked to be on the rise to better success, to go to the Columbus Blue Jackets, who end up being the worst team in the league.
Right.
You know, there's definitely some two sides of the coin going on there. So with Mercedes doing this kind of jump in an environment she's not familiar with, an environment she's never been to, other than on a couple WWE tours, she has a lot to prove, and it was a lot to prove to us fans as well, because a lot of us had doubts. So this match heading in had a lot of stakes to it on how us fans were going to look at her, because her debut didn't go perfectly planned, whether it was people critiquing the promo, the botch of the move that she ended up hitting in the match perfectly, by the way. So big kind of thumbs up on that one. And then she puts out this video kind of explaining all of these new ventures she's going on, and let me tell you, as a Joshi fan and a fan of women's wrestling, there are so many like little quirks and things going on in the background that she threw in there clearly on purpose. Whether you hear Akira Hokuto's music in the background as she's just kind of getting ready in the hotel room and talking. Oh. She's on she's going to the famous wrestlers like steakhouse, and she's wearing an All Japan Women Destiny shirt with Manami Toyota on the front. Yeah, it's just like there it is. Like, she clearly has a passion for this. You don't work the fans by doing that. And then when she starts the match with the dancers and everything, she comes out like Hana Kimura in the exact gear and mannerisms and everything with the gas mask. Like, that just blew everyone out of the water and totally got rid of any doubts that we had that she does care about this. And call it a gut feeling at this point. I think Mercedes Mone is going to be in this for as long as she wants to be.
Yep. Because
she signed on with a really good agent to do a lot more things besides wrestling. So
right.
she can do the wrestling as long as she has the dates and she's willing to do the dates. Money, I don't think, ironically, Money doesn't seem to be, like, obviously she wants to make it. It's part of her gimmick.
Sure.
She's now, not graduated, but promoted herself from the boss, WWE, to CEO, which I'm really digging. This new persona is an evolution of her character, not just
Yes.
not just a baseline.
Not a brand new,
right?
Yeah, or.
So with her doing a lot of this, I have that gut feeling and confidence that she's gonna do. Like, she's already slated to do a match with Azumi. She's rumored to do a match with Mayu Iwatani at the big Stardom show. So the Azumi match is clearly something she probably asked for. And then the Mayu match is something for big money to be drawn in the sense of Stardom. The icon against the CEO. I mean, it kind of writes itself on that one.
Sure. Nope.
What happens after that? I guess we'll have to see. That's entirely up to her. Maybe she'll be okay with a 3 and done. As a fan, I think I'd be sad to see her go, but if we get anything like this first match with the other two, then as brief as it would definitely be successful in what she had in mind and what she wanted to accomplish. It would just be sad to see her go so soon when I think she could do so much more. A lot of this, I think, has that Chris Jericho potential of bringing a lot more notoriety to where she goes, at least in a global sense. And that, I mean, she said it herself. And I think it's going to take longer than 4 or 5 months to do that. Chris Jericho didn't do just 1 or 2 matches. He did a full couple of years getting ready for all this. And Jericho also had his own ventures. I see a lot of comparisons between these two and what they're doing. My big question actually surrounds Kairi. So she's lost this title. Okay. I hope she just doesn't go back into the gym and works out for 4 months and we never see her. I actually, we know Mercedes' path. We know she has the bookings, right? We have that immediate future answer with her and the rumors. Kairi, we know nothing. We don't know whether she's under contract for more dates. We don't know whether she's under contract with Stardom at all right now. We don't know if she's under contract with New Japan. We don't know what her plans are anytime soon. Now, for all I know, she could show up on the very next pay-per-view that's happening this weekend that we're going to do a brief little preview for. Or she just disappears. I have no clue what's in store for Kairi coming up. Okay. So I went on a big diatribe over one Mercedes Mone. What is your big takeaway over, I guess, the match and Mercedes herself?
I think you hit the nail on the head. I don't really have a lot to add. I think she nailed she nailed the entrance, right, with the gear and everything. The character work, like you said, is an evolution, and I really like that. The match was great, and I do think it will bring more attention to this wrestling. I mean, I didn't watch, like you were talking about Jericho, I didn't watch New Japan. I would never have watched Wrestle Kingdom, 2018, if Jericho didn't have that match against Kenny Omega. So I do think Mercedes is doing the same now. So it's great stuff. And I hope we get a lot more of it, as often as she can fit into her busy schedule.
And what did you think of the match? Let's finally get to that point.
I mean, the match was great. I don't know. I mean, it's definitely the best women's match so far this year. I think it's still February, so we'll see. But I didn't take notes for the match, so I don't have specific points to remember right now.
Well, here's a question. Did the ref bump leading into the table spot take you out of the match at all? Did it bring it down for you?
No. I knew. No, the ref bump, they had to do the ref bump to do all the stuff outside of the ring. And I loved all the stuff outside of the ring. So it was fine with me.
Yeah, I vastly enjoyed this match a lot. I love the technical work at the beginning. The feeling out period was all about the limb work. Something as simple as attacking the arm of Kairi, and then Kairi working kind of the leg and back of Mercedes.
Oh yeah.
I liked in a weird way. I really liked Mercedes' clothes and gear kind of falling off during the match. Very Hanakamura-esque, by the way.
Oh, some of it was falling off, and some of it she did on purpose. I think she threw one of her fuzzy leg warmers at Kairi at one point.
Yes, it absolutely was. It was a good little point. The ref bump actually. I thought it was well done where they did a crossbody and they took advantage of the brawl outside, did the big table spot and came in. It was just the right amount of kind of wonkiness that Mercedes tends to have in her matches. Like, for example, there was a suplex spot and Mercedes goes down into a DDT. She gets countered and it looks like she just posted herself extra hard, just looked extra nasty. Those kind of aspects about her matches really fascinate me. So, and I agree. I actually agree with the decision to put the title on Mercedes.
Yes,
I do agree with that.
It was the right choice. Now, this was only was this Kairi's first defense?
No, I mean, if you want to look at it one way, it was like maybe her third. It's technically only her second, but
okay.
Yeah, she just before. Was this before or after the historic crossover where she won it? She had no. It was that same weekend. The day before she won the title, she went to a draw with Saya Kamitani. And then she won the title, and then later she faced Utami in a non-titles match in which they went to a draw, and then at Wrestle Kingdom beat Tam Nakano in like 6 minutes. So,
got it.
You know, if you want to kayfabe yourself a defense in there or two, go for it.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I think we'd be really looking at the Kairi reign much differently if the Wrestle Kingdom match got its time.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah,
bummer of circumstance is kind of what I'm going with that. I mean, I went as high as 4.5 Big Dave stars, easy full 3 recommendation for me. It's one of my favorite matches of the year. It really clicked with me. Obviously, it means a lot to me for me to talk about it this much, and I'm very excited for the prospects of the future, even with all the questions that I had. Shall we talk about Stardom? Get to that Joshi section?
Let's talk about it! Yeah.
Okay.
I'm in.
This is pumped. You know what? I'm just going to keep playing Julia's new theme.
Okay.
So I'll play that really quick. Okay, played it extra long. I'm really into the Julia theme. Super into it. I went into it a lot in the last episode. So before we get your Stardom thoughts, I have some quick thoughts and plugs here. If you're into the Joshi section of this podcast, we're doing the Triangle Derby preview. We normally don't do previews here, but this show is quite interesting to me, and it's a big prospect of what Stardom is going to be doing over the next couple months as they gear up for essentially a Dream Slam anniversary show, which is 30 years in the making. If you're into the Joshi Indies, may I point you to the Patreon, patreon.com/redleafretrocast, Joshi 2010's journey, along with the Pure J podcast with JPQ via the PWI. We go monthly into breaking down the month of Pure J, and boy, will we have a lot to talk about with the results from the Basement Monstar show, but more so the results from the end of the month show that they ran at Itabashi Green Hall, which featured, I will say, some controversial finishes. And the controversy will be, we got our answers, ladies and gentlemen. Got our answers of what at least the immediate future of Pure J is going to be in 2023. So we'll be talking about the booking of Kreia, Akari, Hanako Nakamori, the crew of Pure J, as we essentially break down all the matches that entailed and the results from Pure J. On the TJPW side, they are gearing up for Grand Princess. So they're coming off the Max Heart tournament. You watched the Max Heart tournament final match, correct?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so you'll have thoughts of that in a second. So the Grand Princess card has taken shape. They'll be doing that near the end of, I think it's the end of March, as Yuka Sakazaki is going to be touring America. Some more. TJPW is doing a show WrestleMania weekend featuring Magi Rabi, and I believe it's Maki Ito and Yamashita in the main event of that show. But the Grand Princess show will be headlined by Mizuki against Yuka Sakazaki. Went into the last podcast over my thoughts over the booking and where the prospects of that show is going to go. They announced the rest of the card with just a lot of undercard hodgepodge. There's a panda in a comedy match involved. There's rookies facing each other. There's an interesting singles match between Arisa Endo and Suzume, and then Moka Miyamoto's taking on Ryo Mizunami. So Ryo Mizunami coming in for another pummeling of the TJPW roster with no prospect of booking future in sight for that one. This card does really nothing for me outside of the top match, to be honest. For some reason, I don't see Yuka losing the title. Personally, I don't see the Wasteland War Party actually losing the titles either, considering that Miyu Yamashita will be touring America for essentially the summer.
Right.
And they already got her booked against Alley Catch, which it was bound to happen, this despair. But you'll be going to see Maki Ito against Heidi Howitzer, so that'll be fun to see live.
In singles, yes. Yeah.
So that's out in Colorado. Pretty cool.
Yep. That's not till April though, so a lot can change before then.
Sure, absolutely. But it sure seems like the Wasteland War Party are kind of in TJPW lore for the time being, and I think it's a good place for them. I'm not their biggest fan, but I think they fit into the environment well.
Yeah, agreed.
Okay.
I am a big fan, but yeah, I agree they fit.
I do have a couple quips to make fun of. Ready for this?
Okay.
I'm gonna bury some
Go
things.
for it. Okay.
Mio Momono and Mika Iwata are absolute rookie scrubs. They are so much of rookie scrubs that they can't even beat each other one-on-one. Therefore, coming off of Mika Iwata's first title match in her 7-year career, she's right back to where she was, with no prospect in sight. Mio Momono, on the other hand, represented Marvelous. She is back into her full rookie form, with the old guard beating the piss out of her, and with no wins in sight. Tomoko Watanabe, 50 years old, pummels her into the dirt, looking up at the lights. Kaori Ito, a match so bad and terrible it's not even on Cage Match, but you can find it. You can find these folks. Arisa Nakajima, well, I like her. She's the exception, but she beats her in like 11 minutes too. Hope you guys enjoy the Joshi Indies burial. Yeah.
Enjoyed it.
Yeah. We also saw Io Shirai lose to Lita on Raw recently.
That happened?
That happened on Raw. They lost the tag titles, and
that's unfortunate.
let me tell you, Lita, she don't look good.
Oh no,
she don't look good. Like in ring wise, she looks like she's been retired for 15 years.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, happens.
It happens. All right. Tell me. Max Heart final, that TJPW match. It was Shoko and Hyper Misao losing to the winners, Miyu Yamashita and Maki Ito. What'd you think?
This was just some of the most fun I've had watching wrestling in all week, probably. It was just pure fun.
Would you say you were happy with pro wrestling?
Yes.
Okay.
Was the one girl a B?
Oh, on that show? Yeah, she was a B.
Yeah.
Suzume. Yeah.
She's a B?
Yeah, it's a little farm animal club there sometimes.
Okay, she's a B and the other girl's a superhero. Right?
Oh, you're talking about... okay, well, there is a B, but the other one in the match is Shoko. She's like a Native American cross kaiju, like big monster Japanese thing. Even though she's like 5 feet nothing.
Am I mixing up matches now? Hang on.
You might be.
Oh, because I watched TJPW one and I watched Stardom. No. I'm right. Wait. Oh, you're right. I think I'm mixing up people. Anyway, I do remember the match. Like I said, it was a lot of fun. I love Yamashita and Maki Ito's chemistry. It kind of like the odd couple tag team, right? Like,
sure, yeah.
Where the spot at the beginning where Maki goes for the Kokeshi and there's nobody there, and Yamashita stops her and grabs her and has her lean, and then she's like, okay, now do the spot. Just fun stuff. It was just fun. It was long. It felt long.
It ramped up and it had a good. I thought it had a good ending stretch for sure.
Yeah. What were your thoughts? I mean, you told me to watch it, so.
Well, I mean, that was all last podcast.
Oh, okay.
I gave all my thoughts. You can go back and listen to that. But I really enjoyed it. It's my tag match of the year right now.
Yeah, it was super fun.
And then you watched Stardom. I don't think you watched the whole show, but you watched the big 4 matches that were at the back end. The main event onto Chihiro Hashimoto and Mirai. So we'll start with that match, Chihiro and Mirai, the big Hoss battle.
Okay. Yeah, Hoss battle. So Jason watched all these matches with me too. His remark on this was that it was a Kurt Angle tribute match.
I like that.
Which it really was. I mean, there was a lot of, there was like ankle lock and moonsault, and I don't know what else Kurt Angle does, but there were a lot of things. He's like, oh, Kurt Angle does that. Kurt Angle does that. I was like, okay. But what surprised me, so I wasn't familiar with either of these wrestlers. From the beginning, Hashimoto obviously is like the power strength person, right? And then she did a bunch of submissions, towards the beginning of the match. And I figured that was kind of her style. And then she does a standing moonsault, and then she does something off the top rope. And I was like, she flips too? Like, I was very surprised. I did not see that coming at all. And I love the look of both of these wrestlers. Their gear is great. I really enjoyed the match, top to bottom.
Okay, and then there was the tag match of Nanai Takahashi and Yu against Himika and Maika.
Okay, here's what I wrote in my notes. Both teams have great chemistry. And then I just wrote, I love tag team wrestling.
Fair enough.
throat. But I really I enjoyed the dynamic between these two teams. The eventual winners, they won me over from the beginning. They are magnetic. I was just enthralled. I just wanted to see what they were going to do next the whole time.
Saya Kamatani defends successfully the white belt against Momo Watanabe.
Don't remember this one as well as the others.
This was the one where the woman jumped off the top to the floor with the table out.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that was crazy. Well, the whole time we're going like, that table's not there to break. That table is there for another reason. Like, yeah, that was nuts.
And then the main event, Julia against Suzu Suzuki successfully defends the red belt.
Yeah, so I watched the like recap stuff before the match. Obviously, there is no captions or dub or anything, so I'm just kind of doing my best to figure out what the story was going into this match. But you could tell that they had a relationship going to this match. So I was into it. I wanted to see what was going to happen. I mean, I was pretty sure Julia was going to retain, but did Suzu give her a run for her money? And like she said, she's like, it's not over between us. That girl's young, huh? Like 20?
20, yep.
I mean, just incredible talent. Yeah, great match. Julia is a star. I don't know what else to say about her. I really hope she gets on the Forbidden Door 2 card because I think Western audiences will love her. Her versus Jamie Hayter would be great. Julia versus Toni Storm. Julia versus anybody. She's just fantastic. I mean, she has it all.
I agree. I've been touting her for years, and her rise to the top and getting to where I thought she would eventually be has been very cool, and I'm satisfied so far. Okay, so we're gearing up March 4th for the Triangle Derby Finals, which is a big show. It is headlined by Julia defending the title against Maya Yuki, and if you recognize that name, that is basically my favorite Joshi wrestler, one of my favorite women's wrestlers of all time, Maya Yuki.
Okay.
A lot of these things are surrounding Julia. Is Julia facing her enemies? Whether it's within Stardom has yet to be seen. Right now, it's focused on her former company she used to be a part of, Ice Ribbon. And that's where Suzu came from. That's where Maya used to be the ace of before Ice Ribbon went into essentially financial hell. It's a shell of its own promotion now, and I think that in itself has really lost the audience quite a lot. It doesn't have the heat that it should, and nothing was more apparent than coming out of that Cork and Hall show, which Yukihi accepted Julia's challenge. Julia's like, "What are you doing here? Challenge me. I want to fight you," kind of deal. A simple story nonetheless, and they tried to build the heat off of their animosity of their past, and they really want the Stardom audience to boo the outsiders, okay? In the prospect of them challenging the title, particularly the Ice Ribbon wrestlers. The problem is, on this very Korakuen, there's multitudes, but on this very Korakuen, 5 out of 6 wrestlers in the main event were ex-Ice Ribbon wrestlers. So the Stardom audience has been exposed to these people for a while now that they're not really, they don't come across as outsiders, right? They don't come across like they're invading or threatening your territory, so to say.
Mm-hmm.
The audience hasn't been trained to hate them in any sort of capacity. The people getting the most heat is Nanai Takahashi and you, the tag champions, because
yes.
well, Nanai has a dirty past with the promotion, and they're doing the thing that gets the most heat for wrestling fans in the modern era, and that's beat all your favorites.
Right.
So Maya cuts this promo on Julia saying she's talking about Rossy Ogawa being she doesn't like the Stardom ring, she doesn't want to be in it. She's hesitant to even want to challenge for this title. Not the best build there. So she's really trying to say, I'll beat you, take your title, and then I'll like essentially piss all over it. And the audience the audience isn't trained to like hate any of that. They're just like, I just want to see a good match.
Right.
So and they were so like flabbergasted with the lack of audience reaction that they're like, they're like, Maya's looking at the audience going, don't you hate that idea of me doing that? And it's like silence, boo me. I think you should boo me. And Julia's like, yeah, you should really boo her more. And then as they tell the audience to react, they're starting to, some are starting to do that. So that was a blunder, a horrible like gauge of the crowd and knowing your audience. And I've mentioned this all the time in the All Japan Women watches I'm doing with the classics, the LLPW watches and reviews that I'm doing on the Patreon, that the difference between the interpromotional that we're seeing now in Stardom compared to the past is, wrestling was hot back then in a way that it's not now. There was only 3 women's promotions at that time, so it was a lot of fresh matchups, and there really felt like a sense of first time and rivalry dream matches that you'd like never get unless the promotions intertwined, because otherwise they operated by themselves, solo month to month. In this era, all the promotions work together in a sense all year round, because that's how that's the only way they can actually like fill out cards and make money, even on a small scale. And over the last year in Stardom in particular, they've done the invasion angle with the ex-Ice Ribbon wrestlers themselves, with Suzu Suzuki, Risa Sera and company, and then some people coming in every now and again to kind of emphasize that a little bit. We've seen it play out, and it really felt like the last major pay-per-view of December was a conclusion to all that. So to kind of do it all again with someone like Mayukihi just doesn't work in this environment. Luckily, I'm confident that when they did the press conference, that they really were able to kind of reposition the story and tell it differently, where now it feels like a hot match again. It's not going to be as hot as they want it to be, or what it could have been, say, 3 years ago when Ice Ribbon was a totally different company. But I think they did salvage enough to make this an interesting match. So that's your main event. I think Julia's a shoe-in to win. But what I'm going to do is send you their first matchup from Ice Ribbon, which took place a number of years ago, when Julia was still much less experienced and Maya was the ace of the promotion.
Awesome.
And then that will like really prep you to see what kind of wrestler Julia has evolved into, and that'll give you a better perspective going in of who Maya is. So I'll set you up with that.
Awesome. I love it. I did want to say, so we watched those 5 matches yesterday or Sunday. Jason and I watched them. We are very excited to watch more Stardom. We loved it. So, more Stardom, please. Just tell me what to watch.
Sure. I mean, you got my account info. So.
Yep.
The pay-per-views this weekend. We have the conclusion to the Triangle Derby coming up. It is set up where so that there's 2 blocks, and the top 2 of each block will the semifinal and the finalists will face each other and then they will have the final on the show. So it's going to be Nanai Takahashi and Yu, along with Yuna Mizumori. That's a trio. They are going to face the current trios champions in Stardom, which is the ex-Ice Ribbon group I keep talking about, Suzu Suzuki, Risa Sera, and Hiragi Kurumi. The winner of that will go to the final. And then in the other block, it is Aberrano Godseye, which is the Shuri team. They will take on Cosmic Angels, which is the Tam Nakano team. So definitely some heavy hitters there. I honestly have no gauge on who's going to win. I hope it's going to be the... I know it's tough because you got the artist champions against the current tag champions with a partner on one side, and then you have the Cosmic Angels who have looked strong with a new kind of push with Tam Nakano and Natsupoi focused on that, and then you have the Shuri team. It's I don't really have a gauge who could win. I'm very interested to see how that's going to play out across the show. Himeka, she was the one in that tag match you really liked. The tall one that looked like she blew out her knee, quote unquote. Well, she announced her retirement, and this is part of her retirement road, her final bye-bye. She's pulling Keiji Muto here. She's gonna be she's gonna be against Chihiro Hashimoto. So your Kurt Angle girl is gonna be facing her in a singles match. Azumi and Starlight Kid are gonna have another match. You might remember that match went viral a little bit last year. They're running it back for the high-speed title here. So that'll be on this show as well. And then, let's see. Saya Kamatani is facing Hazuki for the white belt. And this build has been very good. Where now, like, one critique kind of coming out of the last couple shows for Saya Kamatani is she's had this belt for well over a year now. She's running out of steam with it. Her last few defenses haven't been the bangers that we quite like and are used to seeing. And then Hazuki comes into this Korakuen, pins her ass, the crowd goes nuts, she cuts a great promo, I want to take that title, beat your ass. She's extremely motivated on house shows. She's pummeling this woman into the mat, just forearms alike. I'm going to be bold. I'm predicting a Hazuki win here. Just an out of nowhere... I don't feel like it's as cold as ice as I felt like before. I think this is going to be a shock win. Okay. And I only base that on really my gut and what I just said.
Cool. I'm into it.
I think it'd be... honestly, there's always going to be a point. We saw it with... this might not be the best comparison, but... Do you remember in, like, what was it, 2018, Okada had that year-long reign, and then we got to the point where we thought possibly anybody could beat him at any point because he's just held the title so long?
Maybe, yeah. That was, like, right when I was starting to watch New Japan, so...
Yeah. That's how I feel about Saya Kamatani right now. She's broken the record successfully. Now I feel like they could just take it off her at any time, and it feels... For some reason, it feels believably important.
Gotcha. That's cool.
That's my feel for it. Is there any other matches on this card? No. I think that covers it. So, I'm like, I've criticized how I feel about the interpromotional stuff at this point in time with Stardom. I don't think it works nearly as well as they want it to. And for obvious reasons with how cold other promotions are, and there's just not the competition that used to be, and everyone's split and small. It's not the same environment that it was in 1993. I think that much is very clear to people. However, I think they are relying and really leaning into this interpromotional stuff to the point where perhaps it's impacted their long-term booking plans. If we can get through this, we get all the whole like anniversary nostalgia run, quote unquote nostalgia. Then once they do that big Dream Slam anniversary type show, we can then get right back on path to where we need to be. And there's some signs pointing that could be the case. Nanai Takahashi seems to be taking bookings in other promotions after that date again, along with Mayuki and company. kind of doing the same. So I feel like there's going to be this concentration on the roster again. That's my gauge on it. After that show, and we might see some foreigners come into the promotion to kind of fill in all these holes where we've seen the freelancers and outsiders kind of come in over the last 18 months will be, I think, when it's all said and done. I'm glad you're excited for Stardom. I'm glad you're excited any like TJPW. So that is it for the Joshi. Do you have any final thoughts before we head on out of here?
No, I'm just excited to see what happens next. More wrestling.
Hooray! See you next time, Ricky.
Later.
And welcome. It's time for episode 85 of the All Japan Women Classics here on the AJW Destiny podcast. If you're listening on the RLR podcast proper, that Ridley Retrocast, welcome to this section. And if you're listening on All Japan Women Destiny, well, we're in for a treat. So this was going to be like a 2 or 3-parter. Not really exactly sure how the classics had this lineup. The source I have with the match listings has 85 through 88 blank, and no other source has them listed. But this show was, well, incredible. And I was gonna, like I said, I was gonna split this up between multiple shows, at least 2 parts. And what ended up happening was I had to watch the whole show. I had to watch it all in its entirety. I had to watch every match. What happened was first I watched the classics, and then if I got really into a match, I watched it again in its entirety on YouTube, which you can find from various YouTube channels that have, at this point in time, the DVDs like fully uploaded, and they're really cool to watch. They like this one, for example, for the Saint Final Battle 93 show that we're covering here. It had a lot of like pre-match interviews. The whole show started off with them like training, running the ropes, hitting their LCOs, hitting some moves. Aja Kong's like upside down on a jungle gym doing sit-ups. Pretty just interesting stuff. But yes, this is AJW Saint Final Battle 1993 from Sumo Hall, the Ryogoku Kokugekigan. Attendance of 11,500. Not exactly quite sold out, but basically sold out. December 6th, 1993. Incredible show. Just absolutely astonishing. And one of the big critiques heading into the show, whether it's you read up on The Observer or some other reviews that you can find online, whether that's the Blog of Doom, or I would say I'm going to say it, the less informed, the less like, and I would really put the less informed in the sense of the lack of context and understanding of what was really going on at the time. Like I'm pulling up one here from girlswithguns.org, and I would say there's a big lack of context of what exactly was happening at the time. That's just one example. There's many other reviews you can look up. I'm just using that as an example because it's one of the first that you can find, at least in the Google search engine I'm doing. And if I want to go through move for move, I could absolutely do that for a lot of these matches. But I would say the crux and the most important things coming out of the show is whether these matches are good or bad, interesting, what's going to happen afterwards, and obviously the retirement of Akira Hokuto. What a year 1993 has been. There's still going to be one more show after this for 1993 in terms of All Japan Women. But this 92-93 stretch, and it really all began this new rise, this new boom period, this new peak with All Japan Women, with the efforts of Bull Nakano as champion through that transition period between the Crush Gals and now, putting over Aja Kong, I think, was very important to the rise of that, and really the coming out party of Akira Hokuto. She's back from that neck injury. She gets an immediate push out of the gate. She goes to Mexico, comes back with this ninja samurai type gimmick with the lucha-esque background to her. Really embraces this demon look over time and evolves into what we know now as the Dangerous Queen. And Akira Hokuto's rise to this over the last 3 years. I mean, if you want to argue she was one of the better women workers before that, you could absolutely do that. It wasn't just Bull Nakano. She was the number 2 in this promotion, even when she was kind of in her lifeguard Hisako Uno gear that we can reference over and over again. I'll reference that tag league where her and Suzuka Minami of the Marine Wolves were a bloody mess and then had to go back out there and face off against Kokaku Dome there, the Bull Nakano type squad, and just battle for their lives. That's a very memorable 80s match. But this run from 1991, 92, 93, Hokuto just kept getting better, and despite her like breaking her back, tearing up her knee multiple times over the last few years, to the point where now she's at the end of this year. She's had surgery coming out of the Wrestling Queendom show, vacating the white belt, the All Pacific title. I think that was her third or second time winning it. All kind of culminates for these last December shows where she's having her rematch against Shinobu Kandori of LLPW. And if you've liked these Kandori matches with Hokuto, might I point you on over to the Patreon, patreon.com/RedLeafRetrocast, for the LLPW reviews each and every month. And upon this one just came out a couple days ago, which is the build to the Bull Nakano Kandori chain match, which will be featured next month. Very exciting there. So yeah, back to St. Final Battle. Before I kind of race through this giant card, it is, of course, a very big inter-promotional show. That is the deal of these times, where we have, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 matches on this card. And there's a lot of them that eclipse that 15-minute mark, or get damn close to it. It's a long show, it's a trek, it's a journey. And if you got the time where you can kind of pick at it like I did over 2 sittings, man, it's a show worth investing in. I'm going to say it. I think this is the show of the year for 1993. And yes, that does include the 2 Dream Slam shows. I think this show blew those out of the water in terms of kind of the investment and the context of the time. And you know, we're going to go through the Observer here and what a few other people say, but you know, I'll keep referencing my man over here, somebody I don't know, but the Blog of Doom, he agrees with me that the St. Final Battle of 93 is kind of the show of the year with, if I'm just referencing his star ratings and going by his words, like that's not taking away anything from Dream Slam. I thought both those shows were incredible in their own right. But man, if I was old enough to vote in those Observer Awards, or at least had access to AJW like I do now, I'd be voting St. Final Battle 1, Dream Slam 1, 2, and Dream Slam 2 in the number 3 spot for shows of the year. This is, you know, I can reference 1985, 86 all I want with AJW. There are parts of 1979 I really like with the Jackie Sato era, but when it comes to a full year and just excitement and rise of stars, especially in the sense of Akira Hokuto, this is one of my favorite years in AJW I've experienced. It's tough for me to lose that it's just a different feeling. the Dump Matsumoto and Chigusa Nagayo era. That's gone in the past. That's the Devil Masami Jaguar Yokota matches gone into the past. That was a good mixture of styles and characters and wrestlers of the 80s. And now we're in a different era, and I've really kind of fallen in love with this era of AJW. And this Saint Final Battle was a great kind of climax to all that this has entailed. And I think also a lot of that has to do with I've followed along with LLPW in 93. And now I'm halfway through 94 over on the Patreon, and I know those wrestlers. I'm invested in them. I get a lot out of them. Over the course of this 93, I've also gotten to know the FMW wrestlers. I already kind of knew a lot about the JWP with the Mayumi Ozakis and the Kansais of the world, but with people like Candy Okotsu coming up in the young sense, and you got Cutie Suzuki and company, Plum Mariko, kind of rounding out that roster. This is the difference between the interpromotional stuff in 1993 compared to what's trying to be done in 2022 and 2023 in Stardom. Wrestling is hot in 1993. It's very, very hot. New Japan's breaking their own attendance records. All Japan's doing very well. Even FMW is selling out stadiums. You got Vader in UWFI. You got Onita popping off. They're in wrestling in Japan is very hot. So I'm going to head on over to the December 20th, 1993 Observer newsletter, because he writes a lot about what's going on right here. And for context, the next show is the Tag League Finals, which was a tape trader's dream at the time because it has the back-to-back, I believe it's 5-star matches for the Tag League Finals in AJW. But what's happened here is Akira Hokuto has announced her retirement. It's a story that's well known behind the scenes at the time. All the magazines were covering it. Meltzer was covering it himself. And this is why he's so important in the wrestling coverage landscape, at least in the English sense, is that him and the reader base, if it wasn't for him, the Japanese wrestling scene wouldn't get its respect and dues that it would in the grand scheme. It would just be Western wrestling all the time, every day, with an occasional match that pops off and gets some buzz. So that, if he didn't cover AJW, who would have at the time is the bigger question. I would be a betting man to say it wouldn't have. It wouldn't have. You could look at Wade Keller and The Torch, and maybe some things would make a round as the tape trading, but I digress. Akira Hokuto retires, and I'll read this more through for the next episode, but I will skip all the way to the end where he writes something quite interesting here, where and so it's this bottom half to this section. Although by 1992, Kyoko Inoue and Manami Toeda had improved to the point where all three had a lot of supporters as to who was really the best, in 1993, Akira Hokuto's spirit became well known throughout wrestling, even though it was nothing new, for working every night with severe injuries. Although even a year or two earlier, she was nicknamed the Mummy because she was always taped up because of the constant elbow and shoulder injuries, because she continually did nightly high-risk moves rather than take it easy and let her injuries heal. I'll stop there. This, of course, is leading to her retirement now at such a young age. Now, obviously, we know she moves to Mexico, goes through her first marriage. She wrestles a few CMLL shots while she's there. She's sort of healing up, and hey, she'll come back, boys. Don't you worry. We're not done with Akira Hokuto, but she does become a Bull Nakano-esque special attraction. Okay, I continue on. Even though it was known for most of the year that she would be retiring, the promotion actually gave her the biggest push of her career, and she was easily the most popular woman wrestler in the world, particularly after her legendary match at Dream Slam 1 against Shinobu Kandori. Hokuto will finish highly in both Japanese balloting And observer balloting for Wrestler of the Year this year, a rarity for a woman. It is expected that a major retirement ceremony, as is the tradition for the top stars of All Japan Women's Promotion, will take place for Akira Hokuto on March 27th, 1994 at the Yokohama Arena. Put that in your back pocket, ladies and gentlemen. That is important because, well, there's another promotion that's going to run Yokohama Arena on an anniversary, and that's Stardom in 2023 here. So it lines up with the Akira Hokuto retirement. It lines up with Dream Slam 1, which took place on, I believe that was April... Oh, what date was that? That was April 2nd. So they're kind of right in line with each other. So very appropriate. Now, just to give you some more context for funsies, this is what was also going on in 1993 as AJW was popping off, doing great. They're putting on Show of the Year contenders left and right throughout 1993. In the other world of wrestling, the Supreme Court rules Titan. That's WWE. Rumors and news as the United States Supreme Court ruled Monday morning in a case totally unrelated to the U.S. government versus Vince McMahon and Titan Sports as to the constitutionality of drug property seizures. Yes, it is the steroid trials. In other news, Sid Vicious and the British Bulldog are fired by WCW in relation to the Sid Vicious stabbing incident back in October in England with Arn Anderson. Took them months. Bobby Heenan and Kurt Hennig leave the WWF for WCW. Takada and Vader in the UWFI draw 46,000 fans to the Jingo Stadium. Misawa and Kobashi win the Tag League in AJW. Let's see, then they do a lot more notes. There's a riot in Smoky Mountain Wrestling, Jim Cornette's, due to racial allegations and hate crimes. What a crazy year. That's only in the recent news. So we go back to St. Final Battle as Meltzer writes a very good paragraph here that I really enjoy. And it's a good summary of what this show entailed. And I'm just going to read this verbatim. I might take some stops and throw my thoughts in there. But this is for you guys, the listeners. And it's a good mark on history, so I shall continue. St. Final Battle. All Japan Women finished off its most successful big show year ever by selling out the 11,500-seat Tokyo Sumo Hall for a card billed as St. Final Battle on December 6th. The 5-hour marathon show was headlined by rematches of the most remembered match from both Dream Slam 1 and 2 in April, in both cases with the losers from Dream Slam prevailing. Okay, I'll stop. I think that's good booking. And I think the modern scene could do a lot of that if you're going to do interpromotional stuff. I think you got to play ball and you got to go both ways. I think you got to at least do 2 matches. Especially if the match comes across as very good and people want to see that rematch. In the case of this Kandori Hokuto and the Toyota Yamada against Kansai Ozaki matches, that's great. And I'm looking forward to seeing what will be the Stardom move in this case. But like I keep saying and referencing, the companies outside Stardom are not hot and they're not as relevant to make these interpromotional things really matter. So the fandom treats it differently as they would in 1993. Okay. Shinobu Kandori beat Akira Hokuto in the main event. The original plan was for this to be a hair versus hair match, but tickets were selling so well, the Matsunagas decided there was no need to put the stipulation in that would require Hokuto to lose her hair at the end when the show was going to sell out anyway. So I actually tried to research this a little bit more. I threw in the word Matsunaga there because it said promoters, okay? And that's where it was interesting. supposedly, and I had conflicting sources here, whether it was a Kayfabe Weekly Pro episode, magazine article where it was a Rossy Ogawa interview referencing the Matsunagas in his efforts to convince the Matsunagas to not put the hair on the line like they would have in the mid-'80s, because maybe they could even do a third match down the line if Akira Hokuto decided to not retire. So I found that interesting, and I'm willing to be a betting man on the believing side of that case. But again, not a lot of sources there. I have really nothing to back it up. It's just kind of my gut feeling, and I'm just kind of believing the words, essentially, the rumors of what was going on. But also, like, I think they're right, that there was no need to put Hokuto's hair on the line when you already sold the tickets. That's an old, like, Hulk Hogan thing, is you already got him in the building, brother. Let's try to let's try to get more money with another match when you can do a stipulation or something when that's more needed to kind of fill in the gap. You got him for the first time. They clearly got him again for the second time. Hell, they could even go a third now that they've gone 50-50. Okay, I continue. In the other match, Manami Toyota and Toshi Yamada regained the 3WA tag team titles, beating Dynamite Kansai and Mayu Mizaki in 25 minutes 33 seconds, while Aja Kong retained her 3WA title, beating FMW's top woman wrestler Megumi Kudo in 22 minutes 34 seconds. And then he goes on, judging from photos, it appeared the top two matches were excellent, although live reports didn't indicate either match was the caliber of their previous classic matches. Oh ho ho. Hold that thought. Two titles changed hands in the undercard to keep the promotion versus promotion feud alive, as All Japan Women dropped the titles to the AJW tag titles to wrestlers from other groups. Japanese junior champ Chipurita Asari lost her title to JWP's Candy Okotsu, while Japanese tag champ Saki Asagawa and Kaoru Ito lost their titles to LLPW's Miki Honda and Yasha Kurenai. And a few days before the show, an even bigger announcement was made that the group has booked officially the Tokyo Dome for November 20th, 1994, which is a huge risk. All Japan Women, with tons of publicity and months of hype, legitimately sold out this Yokohama arena. 16,500 seats. But that was with the return of every major star in company history for the promotion, for cameos, and the return to the ring of one Chigusa Nagayo, who was the biggest superstar in the history of Japanese women's wrestling. So I'll stop there. I will reference a little teaser from the LLPW review, where we're halfway through the year, and the card finally started taking place, where they're announcing kind of a lot of the undercard, and they're teasing at Akira Hokuto coming out of retirement match, going for the title. That's a rumor halfway through 1994. So yes, it is certainly a major risk that they're doing that, but it's also going to create tons of hype and publicity, and like I said in the LLPW reviews, if you research it a little bit more, you end up seeing a trickle-down effect to JWP and LLPW as AJW continues a lot of momentum coming out of 1993. And announcing something like that is a rarity, and it's something like All Japan Pro Wrestling couldn't even do at the time. Well, they were kind of sticking to the Budokan, but you get the idea. I continue on with the Meltzer paragraph. Even that Dream Slam 1, which may go down in history as the greatest wrestling show of all time, needed a huge walk-up to sell out. The ability to come back and easily sell out Sumo Hall with a killer lineup after some of the other big shows failed to sell out with weaker lineup shows. The potential with the right lineup to still draw 10,000 plus with high ticket prices. It's quite another thing to go into a 60,000 seat building and run a profitable show. Although just going into the dome and attempting such an undertaking will bring with it a lot of mainstream publicity. It's also well known that the Dome is the absolute worst building in the world to watch pro wrestling, and the women's appeal, more than any other group in Japan, is based on the ability to view incredible live matches. That is super funny coming from the Big Dave man. Way back in 1993 is writing that, and he continually references that today in the sense that it's the worst building to run a show in. But the interesting kind of quip I'm taking here is he says All Japan women do the awesome live matches, while if we reference today's modern wrestling, that's kind of all you see, right? It's all about the greatest matches you're seeing, and it's really hard to view. So maybe that's a different mindset now. And then he finishes up. New Japan's annual sellouts are largely due to the show now being traditional rather than fans going and expecting the greatest wrestling show they've ever seen. Well, welcome to 2023. Phenomenal. Phenomenal, phenomenal, phenomenal. So if you remember earlier, one Dave Meltzer in the Akira Hokuto retirement blurb said that she is going to be a kind of a shoo-in for Observer Awards when it comes to 1993 in various categories. And I'm actually going to run through some of these awards in which AJW played a role. I'm not going to go through every single one. But Wrestler of the Year, he only did a top 5 at the time. Akira Hokuto came in 7th with 241 first place votes. Actually, it looks like total votes. Right behind Mitsuharu Misawa, it went Vader, Kobashi, Bret Hart, Kawada, Ric Flair, Misawa, Hokuto, Hansen, Nobuhiko Takada, and then Manami Toyota. So that's 6, 7, 8, 9. So Manami Toyota got 10th. So that's 2 women in the top 10 for the Observer Awards in 1993. Kind of unparalleled. So you would think, okay, she was very outstanding. Akira Hokuto, kind of a Wrestler of the Year contender there. If we compare that today, Shuri, Utami, Julia, kind of cracking top 10s, getting as high as 5th 2 years in a row. So that should say something about the ability of these wrestlers today and the, I would say, just higher general exposure that you're able to access a lot of this today. I think that matters. Most outstanding wrestler, Manami Toyota, 2nd place behind Kenta Kobashi. It wasn't close, but she also cleared Kawada and Liger as most outstanding. Let's see, and then I move on to, nothing best babyface, nothing best heel, feud of the year, nothing from AJW. Tag Team of the Year, Manami Toyota and Toshi Yamada got 3rd, pretty handily there. It really drops off. So what was interesting was Misawa and Kobashi got 4th, not even close to the top 3, unlike Yamada and Toyota, which, if it looked like they got some more votes, they would have actually passed up Tom Pritchard and Jimmy Del Rey that year. So, again, the tape trading and whatnot and the exposure does play a factor here, but they're still doing very, very well. Most improved, Mayumi Izaki gets an honorable mention, which I really appreciated there. And then I'm actually going to skip all the way to the bottom here, where Manami Toyota got Best Technical. She also got 3rd in Best High Flying behind Liger and Rey Mysterio Jr. Let's see. No woman in Most Overrated. Most Underrated. Nobody there. But then, here we go. Best Promotion. Number 1, barely beating out number 2 by only 200 points with less first place votes. Number 1 Best Promotion of the Year 1993, All Japan Pro Wrestling. And number 2, All Japan Women. So this really reminds me a lot of the last couple years, 2021 and 2022, in which Stardom got number 2 behind All Elite Wrestling. It's just what promotion is producing the best matches, what promotion has the most buzz in terms of the Observer, and All Japan Women, much like Stardom, has just really taken people into viewing something different and unique and something very compelling and great. So it's when I'm comparing the two in my head and the wrestlers of today, you know, I like to do the Shuri is better than Yamada. Shuri's been at this for 3 years now in Stardom. Same with Julia and Utami, and Mayu Iwatani's kind of taken a backseat as those stars are being made. But like, these are all big deals, and it's gonna come a time, and it's gonna come fast. I mean, we're in year 4, and if you want to argue year 5, if you want to include 2019, 19, 20, 21, 22, yeah, this would be year 5 of these women really gaining the exposure and star power that they need to be the number 2 promotion in Japan, be the number 2 promotion in something like the Observer Awards. Stardom is essentially they have essentially caught up in the sense of recognition to people like us in the wrestling world that All Japan Women did. Now they just need to start filling up these arenas to the extent that they did. I'm not saying that they need to fill up the Tokyo Dome and get 60,000 people in there, but you know, I want to see a 5,000, 10,000 seat filler in due time. Who knows if or when they're capable of doing such a thing, especially in today's environment. That's no easy feat. But you know, I think a direct comparison, you know, at this point isn't unheard of. That's kind of what I'm going at. Okay. What do you say we review the show 30 minutes into this little section here, eh? So this is, again, episode 85. Hope I got that number right. At Sumo Hall, Saint Final Battle, 1993. Not Wrestler of the Year, Akira Hokuto, in the main event, with no titles on the line, no hair on the line, just straight grudge match with the Dream Slam 2 main event. If I have is that right? I think it was Dream Slam 2, because the FMW match was Dream Slam 1 in the main. And yes, it was Dream Slam 2 main event, which, remember, it got 5 stars. While the Hokuto Kandori match only got 4.75. A lot of people say it's a 5-star match as well. So, quickly going through, the opener, Leo Kitamura and Utako Hozumi defeating Chikako Shiratori and Tomoko Watanabe, 9:36. Look, this was okay. It's a nice little opener. I don't think we need to go into more. We're 30 minutes into this sucker. We have a little person match, a midget match, a small human match. I don't know. Little Frankie defeats Mr. Buddha Man in 5 minutes. It's funny, I just reviewed an AWA show. I did release it on the Patreon. Wrestle Rock 86, and there was also a little person match, like second from the bottom. Very strange. Very strange. AJW Junior title on the line. Candy Okatsu defeats Chaprita Asari, new champion, 12-17. This was very enjoyable. Little messy at times because it's still, you know, people a couple years into their career or less. But in terms of Chaprita Asari, this girl is just very dynamic and super exciting, and watching her get better and better is gonna be extremely enjoyable over the next couple of years. What wasn't cool was Asari going for that Sky Twister press and her landing essentially corkscrew head first on the mat, and Candy Okatsu just kind of rapidly pins her afterwards to win the title. I thought this woman broke her neck, scared the hell out of me, scared everyone watching with me in the Discord chat at Red Leaf Retrocast. You want in? Let me know. DM me on Twitter at BowlingJD. This was Candy Okatsu. She's got a little good ground game to her. She's got good babyface fire. You like to see what's in store for her. She doesn't look out of place when she's in there with like a Cutie Suzuki, for example, or Plum Mariko. I think she's got a little bit of a higher ceiling than Plum Mariko at the time. You know, at this time also, Plum Mariko's really starting to get a lot of concussions, and it's a very sad story. What ends up happening to her over the next 4 to 5 years. But we know the history on that, and if you don't, I guess you can look that sad story up. But Candy Okatsu, Her and Asari just kind of work together very well. The nice little submission game got Asari to really fire up and really start hitting, the handspring mule kick, and really getting up for various crossbodies, whatnots. It's this is that kind of match where you can kind of plop it into 2023. And it really wouldn't seem out of place with the size of the wrestlers. Maybe the gear looks a little different, but very fast paced, very enjoyable. Shame that Asari almost died for our sins in that match. Next match, Japanese tag titles on the line. They were vacant heading into this sucker. It's Kaoru Ito and Saki Yasugawa trying to win these things from Miki Honda and Yasha Kurenai. 15 minutes, 27 seconds this went. Not the best worked match you'll ever see. Big Dave, you gave it only 3.5. I will go on over to the blog of Doom here. Let's see what he did. Let's see what he gave this. He went 2.5 on the opener. Did not. He went a 1/4 of a star on the little person match. Asari and Kenny Okotsu only went 2.5. Well, I mean, average. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with 2.5, especially at this time. For this one, for this AEW tag, he went 3 stars. I think that's also fair. Yeah. Look, Kaoru Ito, victory roll, double foot stomps. She did like 14 of these double foot stomps. She did, I think, 3 jumping hip attacks. Very limited in her game. She tries the corkscrew senton. Totally misses. She just totally misses everybody. I think it was on Miki Honda. Miki Honda was just very much well above everyone else in this match, at least from the in-ring part of her game. But Saki Yasugawa, she kind of hangs in there. Saki Yasugawa's been working through injuries through this second half of the year, and it kind of shows. She's really stepped off the gas a little bit. And when she's in tags like this, we've seen her come in for a hot tag. She does one jumping heel kick and then kind of gets right back out there. So Kaoru Ito, at least in terms of this tag team throughout the year, has really done a lot of the quote-unquote heavy lifting, even though she doesn't really have the in-ring game to justify her being in the ring that long. I mean, for someone who's really gotten a lot of shine at 93, in Kaoru Ito's case, she hasn't really developed into anything other than what she was in her rookie form. The gear's not getting better. The look doesn't get better. Meanwhile, you see someone like a Yasha Kurenai, whose ring game is very limited. She's making up for it with a lot of character work. She didn't do a lot of the heel stuff in this match in particular, even if you watch the full version outside of the classic episodes. There isn't much to really shoulder on here. There was some good, decent near falls. It was a lot of like German suplexes for near falls for Honda. Kurenai's hitting choke slams. Even Saki Hasagawa comes off the top with like a choke slam deal, which was cool. I didn't hate this match. I think 3 stars is very fair for this. And the new champions. I'm a big Miki Honda fan. Look, she had the most interesting gear in this. She had the one pant leg, the very floral design on the swimsuit. I give this thumbs up. No doubt. Combat Toyota defeats Suzuka Minami 13:54. Let's see here. I'm going to pull up a short recap of this one. Let's see. I didn't really like this one very much at all. Look, a Suzuka Minami singles match is going to be very grounded. She's very technical based in trying to get like knee locks in and working the leg. And Combat Toyota, she is not about this selling, and she's very much Onita's pick to get on these cards and be a big body bruiser type that's going to run people over. The woman gets gassed very quick. She can't really work all that well. I mean, look, she's trained by Onita, who does death matches for his income. But I just didn't think this match worked very well. I think the near falls weren't all that good either. There's a lot of just ugly moves that don't really hit right. It's I've seen it written as power versus skill. Not so much David and Goliath. It was just someone that's trying a technical game in Suzuki Minami to a person that's not good at selling, and it just leads to moments of nobody kind of working with each other. And look, Suzuki Minami's kind of your upper echelon kind of wall that people go from the mid card to the upper card, and I think that's a good spot for her. I got no problem with that. And if FMW needs a bone thrown their way, then yeah, beating someone of her caliber, I think works fine. Don't really have a Big Dave star rating here, but the Blog of Doom went 3 3/4. I don't agree with that at all. I enjoyed that much less than even the little AJW tag title match. Okay. The next match on the card is it's LCO teaming with Bull Nakano taking on the JWP team of Cutie Suzuki, Hikari Fukuoka, and Plum Mariko. 20 minutes 35 seconds. This was a long one, and it's a lot of Bull Nakano just rolling over JWP. If you remember on the last big show, it was Bull Nakano and Fukuoka. Did not go over well. A very boring and dull match. Incredibly disappointing. Cutie Suzuki was completely off the card at the last big show, so Plum Mariko was coming in with kind of the most momentum from Team JWP. And this was AJW kind of getting their win back in the multi-person sense. That's what was happening here. Let's see. If I read a little bit here... yeah, it was really just, it was, I would say it was closer to LCO working like the Road Warriors and posting some bitches from JWP, and Bull Nakano coming in and doing her best, I will say her best Meng impression, and being just this mauling beast on the Idol group. Let's see. Did Big Dave give this any stars? It's not on Cage Match, but the Blog of Doom got it at 4 1/4. Don't think I'll go that high, but I really did enjoy this one too. And kind of from here on out, this card just rocks for me. Kyoko went away, Takako went away, and Yumiko Hota get their win. I wouldn't even say back, because they seem to beat LLPW up, down, and sideways every chance they get. They take on Eagle Sawai, Harley Saito, and Rumi Kazuma, coming fresh off her hair versus hair match against Hiro Hokuto in November at the big LLPW show. Did recover that on the Patreon. I enjoyed that show too. 15 minutes, 37 seconds. This was the Eagle Sawai will bump for your ass show. Holy shit. This woman took a nasty pyramid driver from Yumiko Hota right on her shoulder and neck, in which Eagle Sawai just could not believe herself. That I think Yumiko Hota, I'm going to say, I think she went into business for herself on this move. She forcefully took up a dead weight Eagle Sawai because she was not prepared. She was ready to probably reverse this move. And Hota just went, nope, we're going down, brother. And Sawai just kind of laughed it off and go, what are we doing? And there was a lot of Yumiko Hota grumpy no-selling throughout this match, which that's kind of on brand for her these days. You know what? How about this? I think she's a little jealous that she's not as popular as Kyoko Inoue. How about that? Because Kyoko Inoue, at the introduction to this match, this crowd's going nuts for her. She's soaking it in. She's sticking her tongue out. Her and Eagle Sawai start this match, and the crowd's going, Kyoko! Kyoko! And she's just putting her ear like Hulk Hogan. She's, pumping up like the Ultimate Warrior. That's who she's kind of modeling herself after, at least from the charisma standpoint. And she is very much easily the most popular person in this match. Rumi Kazuma, just coming off that hair match, she was given nothing. She's the smallest person in this match by far, but she has the best kicks. And the moment that kind of gives it away was when Hota was in the ring with her, and Rumi Kazuma does the straight up Insaguri fake back kick where the kick will the front kick will go over the person, and then she'll round out back. Kind of Jeff Hardy and Rob Van Dam do those kind of kicks. And even though she connects with Hota no-sells it and gets her right in and kicks her real hard. Takako Inoue kind of played a backup to Kyoko, I would say, throughout. The other like massive moves that Eagle Sawai would do was she took a German suplex from Kyoko where she essentially went inside out and landed on her shoulder and neck again. This was nonsense. The Eagle Sawai, I think like 5 seconds after that, she charges across the ring and goes ass over tea kettle over the rope to the floor, kind of eliminating herself out of the match. We had Harley Saito kind of busting out a Michael Jackson move in the introductions, and she did the know what I mean? I think you know what I mean. Very wacky. I was highly entertained by all this. We got things going through my head of people going to business for themselves. There's no selling. There's grumpy interpromotional stuff where Eagle Sawai and Harley Saito are trying to play along, but Team AJW is not really having it. It's like, you're not supposed to look better than us in any sort of way. And I would say once Hota did that no sell to Rumi Kazuma, she kind of got her ass out of there. She's like, I'm not going to be embarrassed by this. She's the number 2 star of LLPW. And I got to say, this Eagle Sawai earlier in the year really came across strong in an elimination match where she was meant to dominate, but it was also a lot of the mid-carders in AJW. You know, she's not really beating any stars. And she's certainly not being pushed as a major star in LLPW, as I've been recounting, even though she comes across like one. I mean, hell, when the match starts and Kyoko Inoue does the dip down and come in, and then she just runs into the fucking truck that is Eagle Sawai, that ruled. I mean, there's a lot of cool instances like that, a lot of big double clothesline spots. I'm not going to say Eagle Sawai didn't get a lot of shine, but she also gave AJW a lot of shine because she was bumping for him. Very interesting structurally critiqued match that I would love to get like some wrestlers in the room and give them the context of this and see what they kind of can discern and decipher from a match like this. AJW wins. And then we get to 3 just incredible matches in a row, each with their own unique case. I mean, I went 4.5, 4 3/4, and then 4 3/4 again for the back 3 matches on this card. Aja Kong, 3WA champion, yet again, not even in the semi-main. She's 3rd from the top. Defeats Megumi Kudo. Retains the 3WA title, 22 minutes, 33 seconds. Big Dave gave this only 3 3/4 stars. While the Blog of Doom agrees with me that this match ruled. He went 4 3/4 on this sucker. I'm not that high. I just said it was 4.5, but look, this was one of the okay, so there's brawls, which was the best brawls were the Hokuto Kandori series, the 2 matches. Then there's we'll call it moves with a Z, with the Yamada Toyota JWP series. And then you got this, Aja Kong versus Megumi Kudo. I'm going to say it's the best AJW worked match of the year. How about that? How about that one? You guys like that? You guys like that take? That opinion? Because Megumi Kudo really put a excellent babyface effort and really getting Aja Kong to sell well for various submission holds. Kong did not sandbag her at any step of the way. Made her earn getting Kong up, which is very important. That's an old like Bull Nakano thing, and I think I probably said that in the last cast, where Bull Nakano, she'll sell for you, but you got to make it look good and feel good. And that's what Kong actually took into her game here. And Kong with the back fist and timing them just right. I mean, the last sequence of events where Kong finally hits her with one and like kind of just blows her off her feet right on the mat. And that actually played into the finish where she finally gets off another one and lays her down. I've seen some mixed reactions to how Kong handled the Kudo sort of knockout blow, where she gets on the mic, the 10 count stops, and she kind of says, like, you going to let this end this way? And in Kong fashion, she has to slam this mic down as hard as she can, because that's all she knows how to do. Aja Kong, not a great promo, let me tell you. They all kind of yell into the mic and then slam it down real hard like they're spiking an NFL football into the end zone. But no flag on the play for this one, because Kong does get back in the ring, encourages Kudo to give her one last go at it, and Kudo gets some cool near falls at the end, and of course eats that back fist one last time. Good near falls with the German suplexes, good little submission teasers with Kong. I don't think anyone bought that she was going to submit, but man, were we rooting for her. Kind of the idol-esque person of FMW. There was a lot of like subtextual meaning behind this match where, Kudo and Kong kind of debuted back-to-back with each other back in, I want to say that was 86 is when they first debuted. Let me just check that. Yeah. So I believe Kong was September 86 and Kudo was like 2 weeks later. Okay. And Kudo got out of the promotion, fairly soon after that, relatively. And now she's back and they have this big match and Kong hugs her in the post. There's a Jaguar Yokota and Linus Asuka on commentary, and both were trained by Jaguar Yokota early on. Yokota's in tears, looking at the excellent bout that they just put on, two of her students. And I don't know if this interview is correct or not. Okay, and I know there's a lot of this I don't knows, but the reality is a lot of these things are kind of lost to history, and it's a lot of speculation because it just didn't have the coverage, and there's a lot less records maintained. But supposedly, this was the final straw for Jaguar Yokota to come out of retirement, and this is where she began her efforts to start JD Star in essentially a year from now, because she starts up in 95. I believe that's when JD Star starts, and this was kind of her prime motivation that she needs to wrestle again, and she wants to train more people to make wrestling like this, what Kong and Kudo did. And again, I can't really confirm that. I wish I could. I wish these records were maintained a lot better. I wish the interviews were translated better. It's just old JD Star like speculation and stuff, but I mean, if you're watching this in context and I'm watching this and I'm seeing the emotion on Yokota's face and, Kong and Kudo kind of looking at her and Kong and Kudo embracing each other in the post. I mean, I'm a little romantic, I guess. I want to believe that's true. I want to believe it's true. Like I said, 4.5 stars from me. I adored this. We move on to the semi-main event. Not 2 out of 3 falls this time. Big Dave goes 5 stars yet again for the 3WA tag title bout as Dynamite Kansai and Mayumi Ozaki lose in one fall, and one fall alone, to Manami Toyota and Toshi Yamada in 25 minutes, 32 seconds. Yes, another match over 20 minutes. The time clock haters and the impatient motherfuckers would absolutely hate this show. Everything's too long. They need to learn how to work a hold. You're wasting my time, not going 15 minutes or less. Screw them all. This shit's awesome. I loved all of this. This was another highlight to the year as Yamada and Toyota put their mediocre singles all-Pacific title match to the side that we saw last time. Kansai and Ozaki are on their A game, and Toyo Yamada are the fucking Fantastics, Midnight Express, Rock and Roll Express, the Young Bucks, all tied into one for this sucker. They were flipping and flying all over the place. There's a point where Toyota fucking does her moonsault and lands face and ribs first on the apron. She just goes full sideways on this sucker to the outside. Yamada's falling all over the place. Just bodies are going everywhere. It's an incredible spectacle of a bout. And look, you want to go 5 stars, you agree with Meltzer, go for it. I'm a little lower. God help me. I must have hated it. Didn't agree with the 5 stars. Let's see if I can pull some verbatim from the Blog of Doom here, because he's got it all written out here. You know, I could do this too, but I'm doing audio work. I'm not doing the writing, because I could write my essays and just read it here, but I'm not going to do that. So let's see here. Where do I begin? Manami tries dropkick spam on Kansai. I love that. But she Samoa Joe's out of the way of one in 1993, brutalizing her with kicks again, but Ozaki's senton hits Kansai, and Manami finally wises up and tags out. Okay, that got me. We got Toyota do the same kick spam. Kansai gets drilled in the chest about 5 times in a row for revenge. These are fun. Okay, here's another blurb. Ozaki powerbombs Toyota, and Kansai backdrops her straight onto her neck, but Yamada stops. She stops Splash Mountain. Flying stomp, but the rib work avails her not, because Manami Toyota says, fuck you, bridges out. Finally, Splash Mountain hits, but Yamada's in with a kick of her own after being taken out. Crowds chanting, Toyota! Doomsday Bulldog, no! Manami uses momentum to victory roll Kansai for a close call. Ozaki interferes, but Kansai's super backdrop is reversed. Then Ozaki flips over the ropes from a whip, takes out Yamada, leaving Toyota alone. They prepare the Doomsday Splash Mountain that won them the tag titles last match, but Toyota instead kicks Ozaki off the top. She's flipped over Kansai's shoulders. Whew. I will skip to the finish. Japanese Ocean Cyclone Suplex. No, victory roll from Ozaki. Near fall. She lifts Toyota, but Manami boots Kansai right off the top. Then moonsaults her outside. Team AJW throws down their team finisher, the double flip over backdrop suplex, but Kansai breaks the counts. JOCS. Same result. This was one of the best. No. Perfect bridge. They get so fucking sick of interference that Manami missile drop kicks Kansai to the floor off the top rope, then hits the most insane looking thing ever on Ozaki, a straight jacket Alabama slam right into the pinfall, completely trapping her 3 count, 25 minutes, 32 seconds. Okay, that was fun and ridiculous to do, but that straight jacket Alabama slam was garbage. It did not look good. It did not end well. That's kind of like a big reason I'm not going 5 stars, because that move was absurd, and there's a reason why I don't believe she ever tries this move again. That's why. What a match. What a wrestling spectacle that was. I'm sure everybody's going 5 stars. What does it have on Cage Match? It has a 9.6 rating. Like, again, I'm a little lower. I like the main event more. But this was definitely a high-octane match, and I highly recommend it. Very good coming after the Kong Kudo type match. That's also why I really like these 3 matches in the order that they were, because they were all super different from each other. And if I'm saying anything, we need more of this in 2023. I want these kind of matches, where we have a worked match that's very much in Stardom style. We have the big tag match, which they do from time to time, for sure. I will point to the FWC Black Desire match from Stardom in 2022. Love that. That was great. That's the kind of stuff that reminds me. But they're missing brawls, which leads me into the main event. A fucking brawl. 9.17 on Cage Match. Big Dave only gave this 4 stars, so clearly he hated it. Didn't like it. Big time feel, big time rematch. This, all the gears off, they're staring at each other, and they go to blows and punch each other. How do I know it was a shoot? Well, Kandori throws a right hook, they both go down, and Akira Hokuto's bleeding in 15 seconds with her mouth and lip busted open like it's a boxing match. Are you kidding me? These two are insane. They're maddening. Akira Hokuto gets Kandori it's like Darby Allin's Last Supper, but more of a knee bar type hold. It's like a reverse sharpshooter, and Hokuto is a disheveled mess within 1 minute. Her lipstick's all over the place. Her hair at the bottom is being stained with blood. All her teeth are red, and she's screaming. That set the pace, and the whole match is just, I was so enthralled because these two are so maddening and insane and psycho people, that because they started this match with like legit hitting each other, I was wondering if all these other hits or shoots, like, are they actually punching each other in the ribs? There's a scene where it's like, okay, Hokuto and clearly kind of laying up on the rib shots there, but I don't know Kandori. She's a legit shoot wrestler type, a judoka of sorts. I forget what she was. It's off the tip of my tongue, but I'm on a roll here. So these two are just beating the shit out of each other, boot washing. It feels like a fight. It feels like a brawl. Like, John Moxley, I'm sure, has watched this match before, and he's like, got an idea. Blade in 15 seconds? Great idea. I'll do that. Like, this was phenomenal. I love this. It was so different. I think it's a fitting sequel. They really tried to tease a lot of the submission moves, and Hokuto with their leg, like, you just bite on anything Kandori is going to do to that knee. And then, of course, she already has established that she's got this killer arm bar and arm holds. And with Hokuto's shoulder and elbow injuries, you buy that too. You think Kandori could tap this woman out at any second. And the whole match just kind of builds and builds and builds with this feeling of hatred and, dare I say, like UWF shoot fighting feel to it all, which was indeed hot at the time in Japan. So it does work even for the environment of the era. And as we get to the end, and Hokuto's on her last leg, she's on her last breath, she's getting down, Kandori is firing up and she's staying on her feet. She's doing this like big double fist clenching pose. Her legs are kind of spread out in this like dominating form of the superior human, you know? And Hokuto's getting up and Kandori throws straight punches again. So at the end, they're back to how they started this match, where they're punching each other in the face. Probably not for real at this point. And Kandori goes for an uppercut, and the camera cuts. Okay? And now it's focused on the AJW roster. You got LCO, Mita, and Mima Shimoda to the side there. They're crying their eyes out. Kong has a look of just horror and sadness on her face that she's witnessing a close friend go down in glory. And then you have Suzuka Minami and company like holding Mita and Shimoda back from rushing the ring to ringside, so they're kind of stopped. And then it cuts back. It's on them for a while, and then the camera cuts back, and Kandori throws another uppercut right to the chin and just pins this woman. Yeah. A like straight up boxing finish in a wrestling match for the sequel to one of the greatest women's matches of all time. LCO rushes ringside. They're crying. They're really looking at her. And Kandori and Hokuto say some words on the mic afterwards, and the crowd's distraught. What a finish to the show. 4.75 stars for this one as well. I think the first one is definitely more historical, and I do think it's the better match because it definitely has a lot more heat. It became famous for a reason. But in terms of my investment and the context of the time, and this being the sequel and the heat that came along with it, of it being the sequel, and how unique this was, I have no reason to go lower for my fandom and how I came away from this match. They put a lot of emotion into it. And what a hell of a way to end the year for 1993. And we still got one more show in the Tag League Finals. You almost wish these two things were flipped. But that was Saint Final Battle. What a show. My show of the year from 1993, without a doubt. So if you're wondering what's going to happen here between episodes 86, 87, 88, so I looked up what the next like classic is going to be after so now that I've watched all of Saint Final Battle here, because it was a 3-parter in the classics, So it's 85, 86, 87. 88 skips all the way to February 18th, 1994. So we're going to miss the annual Cork and Hall show in January during, we'll call it Wrestle Kingdom Week, more or less. So, and they didn't cover that Corkin of Tag League Final. So we're definitely doing that. I'm going to see if I can't find a January show, or even the there's another. Let me pull up 1994 here on Cage Match, because there's another one. I think it's at Oda Ward early in 94 as well. See if I can't find that one. Yeah, Oda Ward Champion Legend from January 24th. So we got the January 4th show, Cork and Hall, the January 24th show from Oda Ward, and then we can get back on track with some of these classic episodes in line. I keep saying this. We're going to kind of be flipping around here with how the classics have everything lined up, because they don't catch everything. They don't show everything. So you got to kind of go out of your way sometimes to see all this. Hell of a show. Hell of an episode to do. This was an extended long one. I was very happy to do this hour-long episode of Saint Final Battle with you guys. Again, if you love these women's wrestling reviews, you love these retro reviews, come check out the Patreon, patreon.com/RedLeafRetrocast, Joshi 2010's Journey Out of the Dark Ages, going through all the major shows and matches from the 2010s of Joshi Professional Wrestling. Got the LLPW reviews, and got a lot of stuff in the works involving women's wrestling. So this isn't it. We're going to continue. Got the Tag League Final in the next episode, and that'll conclude 1993 for AJW, and we go into 1994. Okay. Guys, let's end this shit show. It's WCW Mayhem 1999. The pay-per-view that brought me a lot of pain. But what's weird is, I don't know whether I've gotten to the point in WCW where the bar is so low when there's like two things that are done right. I go, oh, maybe that wasn't the worst thing I've ever seen. And that's just how I react now. That's very well could be the case, because watching this Mayhem pay-per-view from Toronto, Ontario, Canada, at the Air Canada Centre with a pretty decent house of 13,839 there. I didn't like totally hate this, but it was definitely pretty terrible, if that makes any sense. Like, in no capacity am I defending this pay-per-view at all. There's just no way. And if you've noticed, no Tanner in this podcast episode. He was busy, had things come up, wasn't able to record with me. Maybe that's an excuse so he didn't have to watch WCW Mayhem and put himself through this, but here we are nonetheless. This pay-per-view has a 4.38 on Cage Match, a resounding terrible review, and just about every match that was able to be reviewed has a 4.0 rating or lower, with the exception of the main event. Meltzer gave only 2 of these matches star ratings, which means only 2 of them even cracked 3 stars that I'm aware of. I could pull up the Observer to look up what this was and what those star ratings were. And you know what? I will. Why not? Because God knows I don't want to talk about this pay-per-view. This is so bad. Yeah, I mean, we're coming off of an entire pay-per-view cycle where the World Heavyweight title was not vacated, but stripped, essentially, of Goldberg/Sting, because Hogan didn't want to do the job, and he did essentially not the finger poke of doom, but more or less he laid down for Sting, and that led to some bullshit, which led to Goldberg sort of not winning the title in an open challenge from Sting that didn't have the title on the line, and J.J. Dillon did the whole thing where it's like, all right, then we're done here. We're going to have this massive tournament where people are going to come in and out of the tournament, lose, win. Jeff Jarrett is going to be all over this thing with the powers that be. The Vince Russo hit squad, just to cause just rambunctious mayhem through the show. And I guess that possibly had something to do with the pay-per-view name coming up in itself, and that's what they were going for. Well, whatever the reason, this show took place on November 21st, 1999, as I'm still pulling up the Observer just to get those just awful, awful star ratings. So here we go. Let's see here. ECW November to Remember came out. Is WCW Mayhem on this Observer newsletter. Yeah. Oh, November 21st. Okay. Well, here we go. Survivor Series review. Here we go. It wasn't in the 22nd Observer. It was in the 29th Observer covering Mayhem. Let's see here. Oh, the font's just terrible. What's going on? WCW Mayhem. Thumbs up, 26 votes. Thumbs down, 83. Thumbs in the middle, 15. So I guess that's kind of more split than I would have thought. The best match poll was Benoit against Jarrett, with second place being Benoit Bret Hart. See, I'm flipped around. I actually liked the Benoit Bret Hart main event more. Maybe that's because of just how it ended, but I could see a scenario easily where people watched this whole show, were so sick of it by the time they got to Benoit Bret Hart that they didn't give a shit about anything else. Worst match, by a landslide, David Flair versus Kimberly. Darn! Who saw that coming? All right, let's get to Mayhem here. As let's see. We go to the Wrestling Observer newsletter. WCW Mayhem could best be described as a weird show. The crowd at the Toronto Air Canada Centre on November 21st took a life of its own, and a life at times WCW didn't like it having, as in many cases the crowd noise was turned low when the wrong person was getting booed. Good God, that sentence structure. Some of the responses were predictable, such as Sting being booed out of the building against Bret Hart. Well, they were in Canada. And Sting playing a heel role until the finish when the two hugged. Others, such as Goldberg, Booker T, and Buff Bagwell being booed out of the building, were less predictable. Not Goldberg, but I could see a scenario easily where Bagwell's being booed. Let's see. Goldberg and Booker T sort of made sense, according to Dave Meltzer. In hindsight, since Toronto is a strong WWF city with a pro-WWF fan base, and largely there only to see Bret Hart. And the last time Goldberg was in the city, he did an angle with Bret Hart. Oh, yeah, of course. The Maple Leaf spearing with the metal plate in the chest, and they didn't do anything after that. Cool. Booker T was working with Scott Hall, who's extremely popular. Bagwell's reaction didn't make sense, except the strongly male crowd reacted badly to his pretty boy image. I don't know. Kurt Hennig gets a standing ovation after losing a retirement match. Retirement should last a matter of weeks at most before coming back as an emissary of the powers that be. The reaction of cheering for Hennig only came after the first turning on Bagwell. Oh my God. All right, enough of that. Let's see. Did they make any money? Let's see. Does some house show, live event numbers. Let's see. $313,000 gate. I guess that's not a lot. That's pretty bad, actually. Okay, Benoit Jarrett, 3.5 stars. Evan Courageous, ? Won the WCW Cruiserweight title from Disco Inferno in 8 minutes. -1 star. Norman Smiley pinned Brian Knobbs to win the vacant hardcore title. 2 stars. Ooh, very generous, Dave Meltzer. Perry Saturn and Dean Malenko and Asia win the mixed trios match. Beat Eddie Guerrero, Billy Kidman, and Tori Wilson. The elimination match. 2.5 stars. Mr. Meltzer loving this. Buff Bagwell pinned Kurt Hennig. 1/4 of a star. You even get into that. Bret Hart beat Sting, 2 stars. God, that's depressing. Especially considering in 98 at Halloween Havoc, where Hart beat the shit out of Sting with the bat and ruined his knee. I like that match a lot. Vampiro beat Berlin, -1 star, and that wasn't good. Mang pinned Lex Luger, -1 star. On a roll, guys. Scott Hall retained both the US and TV titles, pinning Booker T in 6 minutes. Wait, I don't recall the US was the TV title. Hold on, what does Cage Match say? Cage Match says it was both titles. I don't recall that at all. No way. I would put a question mark next to that. 3/4 of a star. David Flair went to a non-decision against Kimberly, -2 stars. Wonderful. Bill Goldberg beats Sid Vicious in 5 minutes in an I Quit match, 0.5 star. And then our main event, a barn burner, Hart pin Benoit, 3.25. I love the star rating. That was fantastic. Okay. Let's review this fucking show, shall we? That was entertaining in itself. Oh, you know what? I could go over some of these cage match ratings here. Let's do that. That's fun, too. It's more fun than reviewing the show. Trust me, people. Benoit Jarrett, 5.73, 21 votes. Courageous Inferno, 3.11. Norman Smiley Knobs, 3.6. The Elimination Trios match, 4.5. Bagwell Hennig, Loser Must Retire, 2.6. Ooh. Bret Hart Sting, 3.12. That's all kind of matching up. Vampiro Berlin, not eligible because it was too short. Mang, the total package, got 1.71. Is that the worst match on the show? Oh, yeah. Oh, that's only because David Flair Kimberly was 5 seconds under 5 minutes. Could not be voted. I'm sure that would be like a 0 point something. Scott Hall Booker T, 3.89. Goldberg Sid Vicious I Quit, 1.89. And then Bret Hart Benoit, 6.74. So there. What a resounding pay-per-view that was. I've pulled up the 411 Mania review because they took notes and reviewed the whole show, and I did not. I watched it in pain. It should come as no surprise, but the WCW championship situation was a complete mess at this point in 1999. Sting assaulted a referee and was stripped of the belt. Blah, blah, blah. We move on to the first match. Benoit versus Jeff Jarrett. I can do this. Okay. Lots of creative control shenanigans. Let's see, one distracts the ref, the other, I think, attacks Benoit in the ring. Dustin Rhodes comes out fresh off the gimmicky 7 thing in which he goes, this gimmick sucks, and then leaves, comes through the crowd. He actually interferes on the Jeff Jarrett pin. He brawls, and Benoit uses the guitar on Jeff Jarrett to then pin his ass. So yes, the babyface gets help and then cheats to win. So that's pretty cool. So then we go to the back later in the show, and Jeff Jarrett is being yelled at by Vince Russo saying, fix this shit. So the short version is Jeff Jarrett attacks random people throughout the show and tries to get his heat back, brother. More on that, I guess, a little later. Disco Inferno Evan Courageous was extremely boring. Apparently there was also like $25,000 on the line. Basically, it came down to the Tony Baloney character that's ringside. He's all talking about how Disco like owes him money or some shit. He's doing a big like Sopranos gimmick or whatever, and then Courageous ends up doing like a goofy little springboard. I believe, yes. So Medusa's ringside. They're like kissing their. She's so in love. Oh my god. And Tony Baloney hits on Medusa, and then they shenanigans afoot. It's a very Vince Russo booking with the hodgepodge. This was the first of like 4 matches that broke out in with the crowd doing boring chants. Deserved every bit of it. It earned it, no less. Let's see. There was an angle in the back with Jeff Jarrett, creative control on the powers that be, which was just Vince Russo as an off-screen voice that ran stuff. He wasn't happy with Jarrett and told him he had until the end of the night to prove himself. That was followed by a much better Norman Smiley interview, or he got scared of sounds in the background before the upcoming match. Screaming Norman Smiley. Well, he does a big wiggle in, I think he's in like football gear. No. He was in Maple Leaf jersey gear, and they kind of brawl and do some shit. Let's see. There was a little brouhaha when they get to the back and they fight into an elevator, and like Jimmy Hart opens it up, and I think he like brains himself with the trap. It was actually kind of funny, and Norman covers Brian Knobbs. So hopefully that's the end of this nonsense. But no. The trios match involving the Filthy Animals and the Revolution. Look, Shane Douglas is on commentary. It's all kind of building up to this, like, Tori Wilson's The Last Man Standing deal. And after all of these shenanigans with Asia, and it ends up weird with Perry Saturn. Let's see. How's it go? Douglas is on the apron to distract the referee. Saturn makes Eddie tap to his submission, and then he just grabs Tori, and she actually low blows him for a 2 count, and then Saturn just hits Tori with his own low blow. So yes, Perry Saturn hit a woman in the vagina and then pinned her. I'd be lying if I didn't laugh of how absurd that sounds, but low-end comedy, guys. Buff Bagwell, Kurt Hennig got a boring chant as well. It was a boring match indeed because Buff Bagwell's in it. Basically, it goes clean. Buff Bagwell hits the blockbuster and just pins his ass. That's it. Kurt Hennig has retired. Nice knowing you. Bret Hart Sting in the middle of the show because who knows about building cards properly. There's a ref bump. Lex Luger and Elizabeth kind of goes out. They try to screw Sting, but Bret Hart takes out Luger. And there's this like ridiculous thing where so Bret Hart takes Luger out. He's got him in the sharpshooter, but then Sting is disqualified because Bret Hart's beating this guy up. Whatever. Who cares? Let's see. Berlin and Vampiro in a chain match. There's a lot of the Wall. That's the big tall dude. Shenanigans. Oklahoma, the Jim Ross impersonator, because nothing screams, I don't want to watch your show more than trying to have characters from the Better Company on your show. Yeah. The Wall turns on Berlin and he walks out. No drama, he just leaves. Vampiro wins. Whatever. 411 Mania gave it -3 stars. So they're starting into the negative stars at this point as well. Luger Meng, basically, Elizabeth accidentally sprays Luger's eyes with the pepper spray, and then Meng just does the tongue of death grip and pins him. -2 stars from 411 Mania here. Scott Hall, Booker T. Essentially, Jeff Jarrett takes out Booker T before the match, and it's a relatively easy win for Scott Hall. David Flair Kimberly was an atrocity, and maybe incredibly entertaining at the same time. It from a clusterfuck, what booking nonsense is this? It's like next level. So, Tony Schiavone has the audacity to say this is a marquee matchup that we're glad we've paid money for. Liar. They do the whole video preview heading up this match where Kimberly was in the lingerie and Ric Flair comes out fully clothed of a bathroom with the shower on. DDP comes out and kisses David Flair and hits him with a crowbar. Wait. No, that was part of because that was part of the build. But DDP does come out after this. Well, anyways. Okay, so David Flair is a crazy guy with a crowbar. Kimberly comes out dressed as a Nitro Girl, because she is, but she quit. And she's ready to seduce David Flair. This is all part of the match. And when she tries to hit David Flair low, he has a cup, which he doesn't reveal right away. So Kimberly gets on her knees, the camera gets to the correct angle, and it looks like she's gonna fucking give him some head right there in the middle of the ring, and the crowd is going like raunchy nuts. Like, oh yeah, let's get the live sex show going. She starts unzipping his pants, and you see where this is going. She steals the cup, hits him with it. She starts kind of beating her up, or David Flair up, but then he turns the tides. Kanyon makes the save, but David Flair beats him up with the crowbar, and then DDP comes in. So obviously Kanyon jumps a guy from behind and then gets beat up anyways. DDP hits a diamond cutter. Arn Anderson comes out to save the crazy son of Ric Flair, and then they just kind of leave. Did DDP give Arn Anderson a diamond cutter? He might have. Goldberg, Sid Vicious, basically a horribly worked 5-minute match that ended with 2 chokeslams. Goldberg did not quit from a chokeslam. And then they do a thing where he shoot punches Sid, applies a Cobra Clutch, and Sid passes out, and the ref just rings the bell. A match where you can only quit for the match to end. He calls it anyways. I know it's like a UFC finish, but we're not at that point in time. And then Bret Hart Benoit. I thought they had a good kind of late 90s Western television match. Yes, there was interference. Both guys did a big like chain wrestling into various moves that built off the chain wrestling. They go for their finishers. They get them countered. Let's see. There was Malenko coming out as a fan with the paint with a flag, and then he attacks Benoit, taken by security. The Outsiders come out to break up the pin. Big near fall. Of course, Scott Hall and Kevin Nash are conveniently just late, which causes Bret Hart to forcibly kick out of Benoit's finisher, so that kind of buries both guys in a way. But they fight him off. Goldberg comes out, chases off the Outsiders, and the finishing stretch happens, which is very good when it comes to Bret Hart and Benoit with his rolling Germans, and Bret goes for his big superplex spot. And essentially what happens is the crossface is blocked, it's countered, blocked and countered, and Bret just gets him in the sharpshooter and taps him out clean. Big pyro celebration. The Canadian crowd is happy. Bret Hart is finally fucking champion, and he's a babyface in Canada. We're going to see how they fuck it up in a month and end his career. So, phenomenal. Hope everyone's happy. This was a fun podcast until I started reviewing WCW. But that's how we always end, in despair. See you next time, everybody.